much on Twitter. It is at Jay Cameron Show. If you're out and about driving around town, listening on 93.3 Real Talk Radio, thanks for doing that. Be safe out there. Lots of rain, tons of rain, and then some more rain. So don't be silly. Take your time. On YouTube or Warchant TV, if you will, where, by the way, Tom and I will be tonight for an interactive hour. If you weren't already tired of us, there's more. There's more of us tonight from 6 to 7, brought to you by our dear friends at the Battle's Inn. That's a good thing. Interactive hour tonight. Really, that's an hour for Tom and I to have some cold drinks and discuss football with you. Ask questions, enjoy, and fire away. We'll have some fun with it tonight before we have actual football tonight. Both games are games I want to watch. Very intrigued by Arizona State and Texas State. I really racked my brain as to why the line is that way. Found out that Kenny Dillingham thinks the Texas State's a really good team. Said as much. So, all right. So, by the way, Tom Lee Sterling went to Texas State, as he's pointed out before, and he said that he thinks they're a really good team. And he was shocked that their quarterback had transferred from that team to Western Kentucky or whatever it was. And he was shocked that he had done so because most people believe Texas State, A, is pretty good for what they are, and B, would have been a better place to play football this year than Western Kentucky. So there's that game, which is a 1-point spread on a Thursday night. That's good stuff, man. If you're sitting around eating dinner, enjoying yourself, watching a little college football, you want a game that the experts anyhow seem to think is fairly evenly matched. Kenny's got it rolling right now at Arizona State. They got a chance to go 3-0. And then, of course, if you're a Dolphins fan, you've got to be thinking to yourself, we're going to win tonight against Buffalo, right? I mean, it's a short week for Buffalo. You're at home. You should win this football game. Did you know? And if you didn't, I'm here to remind you, Dolphins fans, and this is a hurtful reminder, that the Buffalo Bills have won 11 of the last 12 times they've faced the Miami Dolphins. They have owned that ass. Josh Allen has done whatever he wants to do to the Miami Dolphins. The lone exception was a game that the Buffalo Bills dominated in terms of possessions and yardage and everything else. They just had a bunch of goofy turnovers, and they lost by 2, I think it was, if memory serves. Other than that, it would have been 12 out of 12, and that includes a playoff game. So if you're a Dolphins fan, you got to be thinking, sweet Jesus, we're at home. It's a short week for Buffalo. We should win this game. If we have eyes on winning the division, it'd be really kind of important to win this game. I know it's only week 2, but sometimes week 2 matters greatly in the big scheme of things when the separator is just a game or two at season's end as to who wins the division. And we know why that's important. It's not like Dolphins fans have this wonderful selection of memories to choose from in which the Dolphins went on the road and won a playoff game. It doesn't ever happen. Ever. So you may want to win this one. So you're not having to do that. See, just like that, we can ratchet up the importance of a week 2 Thursday night game, which sadly is on Amazon Prime. By the way, I like Amazon Prime as much as the next guy. Really great movie selections and music selections. If you're like a independent film kind of guy, and I am, then you're really, you like their opportunities. You like what they provide. And if you like documentaries about bands and artists and stuff, they got a lot of that. But, man, their coverage with Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit sucks. Kirk's disinterested, and Al mailed it in years ago. Years ago, Al Michaels said, I'm calling it a day, and still got paid. Hopefully there's some engagement. It's early in the year, and it's actually kind of a big game. Maybe you don't sleepwalk your way through this matchup of divisional rivals in week 2. I hope not. That said, how are you, Tom?
I'm doing all right. I hope that Al Michaels is a wise enough man to allow the dog to be in the booth. Dog Herbstreit. Because he made it for one of their primetime kickoffs in the first couple of weeks. So maybe if Al lets the dog in the booth, Kirk will feel more engaged and he'll feel more supported. And that way they can have a better rapport moving back and forth. And maybe Al won't be so smarmy because dogs are awesome. So Al pets the dog a little bit. He's like, you know what? My life doesn't suck nearly as much. This game might, but the paycheck's good. So let me give you a professional effort on a Thursday night. We'll see.
Yeah, the fake, well, as I've called him before, the fake support dog or whatever the hell he calls that. Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. And that said, I he can't lampoon dogs. I'm really ripping Kirk. But that said, yeah, maybe anything to cause them to be engaged. All right, look.
That said Greg Tish on the other side.
Oh, hello, Greg. I didn't. Oh, yeah. Look, it came out of the printer with my picks on the back because I just printed them. But this must have been a previously used piece of paper. Well, good on you, Greg, if you're listening. You just got a plug here.
Well, good for 93.3, recycling paper, being aware of the environment. Well done, Real Talk 93.3. Way to be aware of the environment. That's what the station's about, baby.
Actually, that's not what I want them to do. I'd like fresh, clean paper in there, and I'll throw this away.
Environmentally aware. That needs to be the new slogan for Real Talk. Environmentally aware radio.
I'm sure their fans would love it. LSU -7 against South Carolina. Throw up the graphic. Goodness gracious, Tom Lang. Throw up the graphic. Look at that. Pay me, Martha. And you see, you already got my man suspicious of where this other pick comes from down here at the bottom with Buffalo. Yeah, you're already okay. Fair. There's only a few this week, I think, right? That you would be like, ooh, let me sound the alarm here.
No, this is a very tame week for the Siren.
There's one that was very obvious, and it was the last one. It was just over the top obvious. Here you go. South Carolina, I don't think is very good. I do think LSU is good. I actually thought they played great against USC. That was a fun game to watch. Give me LSU and lay the 7 against South Carolina. Here we go. I did it. Now, this may be the last time I do it, but I went ahead and said the matchup suggests off a bye week, Florida State should be able to take care of business. Sweet Jesus, should they be able to take care of business? Come on now. I don't even have to give a full touchdown in this game. Give me the Noles -6.5 to get right. Just go win 31-21, guys. Just get it done. Get it done. Pull yourself up. Pull yourself up and figure something out. You've had 2 weeks. Get it together. I'll lay the 6.5. Here you go. Texas A&M never wins on the road. I don't like their offense at all. I do like their defense. Give me Florida plus 3.5 at home in Gainesville. How about that? That's right. Sunbelt Billy to get a win over Texas A&M. A sigh of relief. They would be 2-1, just like that. The Gators would be 2-1. And don't look now. Mississippi State's not any good. You could beat them. That'd be a third win. There's another win in there that's an automatic win. And I think there was, I don't know, Kentucky looks terrible, Tom. Hey, is there a path? Is there a path for Florida fans to go bowling?
Yeah, Kentucky's a bad team. Probably going to beat them by 2 touchdowns.
Give me Pitt against West Virginia. Pitt hosting, getting 2. I don't think West Virginia's any good. I'll take Pitt. You could have blown the siren here. Give me UConn plus 16.5 against Duke. UConn plus 16.5 against. UConn's been scrappy. Duke's offense is pathetic.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Better.
USF -11 against Southern Miss. USF looks like they may have a little something going. May have a little something going on defense. I'll give the 11. Southern Miss is terrible. Signetti sipping on scotch and water, smoking a cigarette, watching film as we speak in Bloomington, Indiana, getting set to fly across the country and face a UCLA team that not once but twice had 9 men out on the field last week on special teams. 9. Not 12, not 10, 9. That's hard to do. Might as well roll 7 out there, gang. If you thought that the initial press conference for UCLA, in which their head coach froze at the mic, was an ominous sign of things to come when the bullets flew in live action, you were right. You were right. I think they got problems at UCLA. I'm going to go ahead and take cigs while smoking a cig and sipping bad scotch with too much ice to get the win.
Well, then now you have the honor to do it yourself if you wish. I don't know if you've ever hit the siren for yourself before, but
I don't even know where the siren is.
It's under Cat 5. It's under Cat 5 on the board. So you have that honor with this next game.
I don't see Cat 5 anywhere on the board. There it is. There it is. Okay.
I don't see it anywhere. There it is.
There it is. I don't see it anywhere. There it is. Yeah, I like Buffalo minus 3.5 against UMass. Feel pretty good about the way Buffalo's playing. I'm going to go ahead and give the 3.5. I think it's a whitewash over UMass. Bet it. Bet it. NFL, I took Jacksonville against Cleveland. I can't bet Cleveland until they do something at quarterback. So I just, all right. I'll do it. Give me Jacksonville at home. It's going to be hot there. Deshaun is embroiled in another controversy. Give me Jacksonville. And then San Fran minus 5 against the Vikings. I think people are getting a little too excited about that Vikings win. Give me San Fran here. We'll see if Darnold is going to light it up again, Tom. I suspect it's a little bit different when San Francisco's in the house.
You think that had something to do with maybe the Giants more than it had to do with Sam Darnold? Is that what you're going on here with the Vikings?
I am.
Okay.
I think that's
one theory. That's one theory. We'll see.
So I come to you today with the winds of change and conference realignment blowing. That's right. You no doubt already heard about the Pac-12 deciding we're not going down without a fight. We like us. Our wife likes us. We're going to hang in there and fight like hell to have a conference. So the Pac-12 has added 4 teams. Now, feels somewhat insignificant, but they are doing that, and we'll see what they are going forward. They're going to go to work and try to restructure this contract. Poaching 4 teams from the Mountain West. You guys probably already heard about it. I mean, I like that they're trying. Quote, for over a century, the Pac-12 conference has been recognized as a leading brand in intercollegiate athletics. That is from Teresa Gould, who is my favorite conference commissioner, because she's out here having whiskey parties at their annual meetings these days in Las Vegas. And that's a good thing. We will continue to pursue bold, cutting-edge opportunities for growth and progress to best serve our member institutions, all 2 of them, and student athletes. I'm thankful to our board for their efforts to welcome Boise State University, Colorado State University, who takes on Dion in Colorado this weekend, California State University, as she wrote, Fresno, and San Diego State University to the conference. An exciting new era for the Pac-12 conference begins today. First reported by Yahoo Sports. Of course it was. Yahoo came knocking on the door and got the straight dope about the juggernaut move.
Man, they pay like one person at Yahoo, and it's whoever's in charge of investigative reporting for sports, and like that's it. And specifically college. That used to be an enterprise. Yahoo across the board was a beast. And they said, we're going to get rid of everything else, except we're going to have a Dellinger type. And that's who he is now. But Yahoo Sports was reporting on bad stuff and bad news for universities 10, 15 years ago. They said it's almost like an athletic department like ours 20 years from now. If we're still stuck in the ACC, we're keeping football. Everything else is going away, but we're keeping that one thing.
Well, don't forget, Tom, just so you know, Ross Dellinger still works for Yahoo Sports. He is still out there kicking ass, right?
That's what I'm saying. They only have one thing left that they spend money on, and this is it. This is the one part.
It's him. He's the one guy. He's got to be loving life. It's just me out here kicking ass. I got nobody else to compete with. I'm good. But he's
not surprised. Like Pac-12 media days, preseason kickoff media days are the same as his Christmas party. It's just like 4 people and it's an open bar.
Oh man. Listen, he does a great job, but that's not the news that I was going to bring you about the winds of conference realignment. there has been a little bit of a dust-up centering around the ACC, in particular Florida State, and the future of the ACC. Now, as usual with these things, it's a difficult task in trying to discern truth from fiction, rumor mongering, those trying to get out in front of something that maybe they know nothing about and are reaching for straws or being used and manipulated. So I won't tell you that I have a clear answer as to what all this means, but I can tell you that the conversations and some of the dialogue around this, some of the reporters that cover realignment, that cover the SEC, the ACC, the Big 10, the Big 12, and now the Pac-6 or whatever it's going to be, have all been reaching out to one another. And in turn, I have reached out to them and they have reached out to me, and there's been a lot of conversation about what some of this might mean. We'll carry on the conversation about perhaps the winds of change are again blowing. There is once again a conversation, and we will speculate to some extent based on some of the information that I've been able to accrue over the last 24 hours. It's not an answer. It's not the answer, but it does seem that something may be happening here in the very near future, and that in and of itself is interesting, intriguing, exciting, maybe, depending on if you think it's going to lead to some other, dominoes falling. And you may have to make a reach with some of that. But it's fascinating. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Howdy, folks. Jeff Cameron here to tell you about my friends at DexaFit Tallahassee. What is DexaFit, you might ask? Well, it's where you want to go if you're looking to elevate your health and fitness journey. DexaFit's exclusive services include AI-enhanced body scans, VO2 max fit testing, and RMR metabolism analysis to provide detailed insights into your body composition, cardiovascular fitness, and metabolic well-being. Sounds like a lot of science, but that's because it is the most advanced science available. In fact, that's a good thing, right? DexaFit gives you immediate detailed insights about your body composition, provides a customized plan to improve on troubled areas, delivered in an easy-to-navigate mobile app so you can share the information with your trainer or even your doctor to find the most direct path to your peak health. Check out DexaFit Tallahassee, the most accurate and most state-of-the-art body composition scanning and fitness planning available. Located on Capitol Circle Northeast, directly next to Bumpus. Check them out online at DexaFit.com and tell them Jeff Cameron sent you. DexaFit Tallahassee. Know your body and transform your life.
Not only does Swain Pools and Spas sell the best selection of hot tubs and spas in the city, but Swain also builds, services, renovates, restores in-ground pools. Is your pool ready for the summer season? Ask about our scheduled maintenance plans to ensure your pool is always clean, balanced, and ready for a swim. Does your pool have a leak, broken heater, or maybe needs some restoration? Is your pool showing its age and needs a facelift? Our renovation crew specializes in applying the latest modern techniques to transform your old pool into the oasis you always wanted. Swain Pools and Spas is Tallahassee's premier pool everything store. Call us today and we can answer all your questions. 850-386-7113. That's 386-7113. Or contact us online at swainpools.com.
And right next to Swain Pools and Spas is Tallahassee Car Care, the only repair shop where you can take a dip while we repair your whip.
This announcement is brought to you by Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey.
If you're driving right now, you should know there's an 80% chance that the cars all around you don't carry any bodily injury insurance. Most people don't realize it, but in Florida, all the law requires is that drivers carry property damage insurance. This means that the texting teen drifting over into your lane or the drag racer on your rear bumper have no way of compensating you or your loved ones when they cause a crash. And this should scare the hell out of you. Fortunately, there's an easy way to protect your family from this, and it's called uninsured motorist coverage. It's an absolute must, but a lot of insurance companies are convincing folks to drop it just to save a few dollars. Take it from the personal injury experts. Don't. At Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey, we've recovered millions of dollars in uninsured motorist coverage in crashes where our clients would have otherwise received nothing. So please, call your agent right now and make sure you have uninsured motorist coverage on your policy. We hope you'll never need it, but we'll be here for you if you ever do. Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey. Don't settle for less.
Due to customer demands, Falmers has extended their end-of-summer sale until Monday, September 16th at both locations. Many have saved big, as much as 70% off their favorite items, including jewelry, electronics, bikes, and tools. And now you'll buy with even bigger discounts. Plus, Falmers is now discounting all pre-owned firearms, too. This is a great time to buy from Falmers. And if you have something of value you no longer need, use that item as cash. We'll trade with you. Hurry in for your best selection. Falmers Pawn, Gun, and Check Cashing. More than you might expect, with 2 great locations.
This is Alex from Falmers. We've been buying gold and silver jewelry, fine watches, and other collectibles for over 45 years. But did you know Falmers buys and sells gold and silver coins, bars, and bullion? Don't get scammed online or pay high shipping and handling fees. Call or stop by Falmers for a quick and easy quote. No matter if you're new to investing in bullion or have been collecting a lifetime, Falmers is your local source for buying, selling gold and silver coins and bullion. Falmers, more than you might expect, with 2 great locations.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
All right, so before the break, I mentioned that the winds of conference realignment are blowing again, and that's quite literally true in the sense that we just got an announcement today that the Pac-12 has raided the Mountain West, and that's the way you would have to say it. The Pac-12 got together, discussed a plan to rebuild the league, wanted to make additions, decided to pilfer the Mountain West, and at that point, they targeted Boise and San Diego State and Fresno and California State and said, let's see if we can't get these guys to do it. The Mountain West schools were bound to each owe $17 million each as an exit fee. There is a somewhere in the neighborhood of $12 million penalty fee attached to to that situation as well. But it didn't stop the Pac-12. They went ahead and said, yeah, we want to take your teams and screw your sovereignty. We're invading. We are going to take your teams, and there's not much you can do about it. And the Mountain West didn't like it and said, no, you're not going to do that. And then, unfortunately for the Mountain West, the schools that were mentioned and being rumored for the last 48 hours announced that, no, we're leaving. Yes, we've agreed to go to the Pac-12, so we are leaving. So we are not staying. We're announcing our intentions to mobilize, to ride the hell out and join the Pac-12. So it is done. It is done. And another conference has its legs taken out from under it. We don't care as much because it's the Mountain West, and there's not like this crazy fervent cry from folks saying, hey, what's going on here? This is bad for college football. More people just feel bad for the Pac-12 already after their irresponsible and incompetent commissioner allowed for the conference to crumble because he thought, more importantly, believed that the entity was worth more than it was and was holding out for something bigger. Something bigger never happened, and they ceased to exist as a real conference, lost their voting rights and everything else as it pertains to rules changes within the NCAA and all of that, lost status, and we're left with 2 members. Now they have, 6? So here we go. You want to bet they don't stop there, Tom? So we go from here, and that becomes interesting because once again, it breaks the seal on the bigger conversation. Are we done yet? Is the giant game of musical chairs over? It happened to coincide with what was an ACC president's meeting that lasted into the wee hours of the night last night. Okay. Might very well just be a coincidence that, in fact, there was an ACC president's meeting last night. There have been rumors of potentially some sort of settlement. Now, I don't even know what that means. I don't think that Florida State is in a place to where you could settle. It would lead to this kind of conjecture, which is that what would have to happen for Florida State and Clemson to say, yeah, sure, we'll stay. Remember, you had Peter Collins and others noting that this was an impossibility.
Well,
You
wait a
wouldn't have
minute.
filed a lawsuit.
So, but a settlement could be an agreement where Florida State says this is what we must pay and leave. You're talking about a different kind of settlement? Just want to clarify.
I'm talking about a settlement. I'm talking about a settlement that either way would be fascinating. If it's in fact a settlement that a number has been agreed upon by the ACC presidents and the ACC and Jim Phillips, well, then that conference may cease to exist, because once the number is known, I think others will follow. Florida State would certainly celebrate it. The question would be this: if that number does exist and it was even discussed or is even a possibility, Tom, does that also mean that Florida State already knows their future home and that they would get the same sort of aid in which the freight is paid, just like Oklahoma and Texas had when ESPN decided to pay for them to come into the SEC and all of the fines that went along with it?
I would be stunned if that was the case, because all I've heard is that Florida State's not valuable at all. So I don't know why somebody would pay for Florida State to be a part of their conference if we have no value whatsoever.
So what's fascinating is that there has been the only bit of sort of rumoring that has occurred that you could find intriguing is that for the first time, many who cover the conferences and the potential conference realignment and the lawsuits nationally, we're hearing that Florida State would be pursued. And this is somewhat interesting in that there were always, I think, certainly opinions. We have them, many people do, about what would happen if Florida State was a free agent, if Clemson were a free agent. You know, those opinions range from, oh, well, then North Carolina would take the opportunity and others, and the ACC would be reeling and perhaps cease to exist, certainly as we currently know it. And what would they in turn do? And what would it mean? Would it mean that the quest for assets between Fox and ESPN, this battle for assets, would it mean then that they would act swiftly? The other part of that rumor has been that sooner rather than later, ESPN would have to make an announcement one way or the other about the opt-in or opt-out of their contract with the ACC. Now, there's little chance, one would think, that you're opting in to the ACC as currently constructed and for more money, etc., if Clemson and Florida State aren't guaranteed to be a part of said ACC, right? You wouldn't do that. You would restructure that deal all day, every day.
Yeah, and I mean, first of all, F that. We don't want that. Secondly, if you had to, the ACC has talked about trying to renegotiate the deal with ESPN, which, first of all, why would ESPN do that? They've got a pretty good deal in front of them. If Florida State and Clemson are a part of the conference, then they've got an excellent deal. If they're not, then I think ESPN wouldn't exercise the option. They'd say the hell with it. But maybe the threat of Florida State and Clemson leaving would bring ESPN to a table to restructure the deal from their side to allow for provisions for the big schools like Florida State, Clemson, and North Carolina to make more money. Now, this is me playing speculation, and I do want to say again, F this. I don't want this. But that's the only way it would make sense to where Florida State would receive a sum of money that would keep it on a level playing field. I just, please no. Please.
Well, the only way that you could present this to your alumni, boosters, fans, etc., after going to court and announcing ahead of time that this is untenable, impossible, the current arrangement for Florida State to stay in the ACC. The only way that you could reposition that in a palatable way would be to make some sort of announcement if, in fact, any of those rumors were true about a potential settlement. It would, and your inclusion in the conference with the ESPN re-upping, it would have to be that you were going to be paid in the neighborhood of an extra $30 to $35 million a year in perpetuity so that you would align with what SEC schools and Big Ten schools are making. I find it hard to believe that that sort of arrangement would be agreed to by other university presidents in the ACC. I find it hard that that would be agreed to by Jim Phillips at this point, who has, around every turn in the last year said that he would fight this to the bitter end. I think rightfully knowing that his conference's legitimacy is at stake. The only way that something like that would occur is if ESPN said, we'll chip in, make it happen, and then we'll re-up the deal. But what I liked most was in the last 6 months, this idea that Fox has been waiting, that the lawyers and those TV executives at Fox want to plant the flag in ESPN's backyard and be a coast-to-coast sort of conference. Now, there have been plenty of pushback by existing members of the Big Ten and fans of those schools. I don't really care. They're not making the decision. The television networks are making these decisions now. And so what I think would be fascinating is if that any of these rumblings that there are further discussions being had about a potential exit fee, arriving at a number, whatever it might be, if that is on the horizon, like an army, do ESPN and Fox begin to position themselves to pounce? To once Florida State and Clemson becomes available, is it immediately known that for all the bluster, that those two networks would do whatever they needed to? Now, keep in mind that this is now a fair fight in a way that it wasn't before. ESPN is no longer the behemoth, the monolith they once were, with money to burn. They have been more cash strapped. They've had to let a lot of people go. They've let a lot of things lapse and decided not to re-up. So you're kind of now curious. I think Fox might be in a position to make a go of it if, in fact, that was what they wanted to do. And you might say, well, what does that have to do with anything? Well, I don't believe, let's say the number is $400 million. Let's say the number is $500 million. Let's say it's $350 million. So I think that what would happen then is something that was very similar to what happened out of the Big 12 in Oklahoma and Texas, which we found out later. We didn't know this at the time. Then the documents got revealed, and we began to read those stories, Tom. And if you remember, I read them on air about the numbers that ESPN was willing to aid Texas and Oklahoma with, right? The dollar amounts, because, obviously Texas and Oklahoma had reached an agreement with even a wink, not understanding of, well, okay, listen, we're going to have to pay this, and this to do this. How about a little help? And they said, okay.
And again, as a reminder, that was against future earnings. They never had to come out of pocket with $50 million, which is what the cost was for 1 year.
Right.
To leap a year early, it was $50 million per school, but it was against future earnings. So that was the day that I sat in the chair that you're in right now. I was like, okay, if you're telling me that you don't have to have liquid cash to pay all this stuff up front and you can finance it over a period of time, I feel a hell of a lot better about Florida State's chances of getting out than having to come up with the cash. Like private equity would 100% have to be brought into the equation if you needed the cash up front. But if you can structure it against future earnings and spread it out at whatever percentage, they'll come to a total, but they'll calculate percentages. I think Florida State's chances increase rapidly. The problem is that you have, to use a war analogy, it's on so many fronts right now, you can't even see straight. You've got the sport of football against all other sports in college. You want to reclassify or not. You've got NIL. You've got Congress. You've got the networks. You've got TV contracts coming up for some conferences in the near term. You've got the playoff that's changing from 12 to 14, and there'll be an assessment shortly after that, to move it to 16, I'm sure. So there's so many moving parts. And also Florida State, ESPN, and the ACC are in a bit of a stalemate. ESPN doesn't want to re-up the deal if they don't have assurances that Florida State and Clemson are going to be a part of it. The ACC is desperate for them to do so, but Florida State and Clemson don't want to be a part. They want to be hand in hand with ESPN in the current arrangement. So you have so much to sort through at one time. It's hard to see straight.
No, it's really weird to watch it play out. Meanwhile, Florida State's 0-2 and desperate to get a win this Saturday against Memphis. And there's this desperation the fan base feels, hopefully the players and coaches do too, to right the ship. It's almost too much to keep track of. It is interesting, though, that this is all something in the last 48 hours that has picked up some steam. I'm not saying any of it's going to happen, although we do know that the Pac-12 has just gone out and grabbed 4 more teams. That has happened. So realignment is happening again. That is a factual statement.
And they cannot be done by definition. They need 2 more to get to a level that's sanctioned by the NCAA as a conference. So that there is more coming, at least on that level, where maybe UNLV or, some other team, San Jose State, who knows?
More announcements are coming.
Yeah.
And we do know that there is always sort of this ancillary, sort of the rule of unintended consequences. It's like, well, how does UNLV making a decision to go to the Pac-12 affect the ACC or the SEC or the Big Ten? But you could probably find a through line. You could find a way to make that work. Like the Venn diagram, you could find a way to make that work.
T. Road Price used to do those commercials. Like, how do farm prices in Europe affect the cost of sushi in Japan? And like, we know at T. Road Price. Yeah, that's exactly what's going on.
Yeah, and so I think that's probably why behind the scenes I'm hearing so many whispers. And again, yesterday I wasn't going to bring it up. I was just kind of like, I don't know. This doesn't seem credible. But then more credible people who have their antennas up for this story because it's part of what they do, or they're certainly in the same sort of media landscape that we're in. We're reaching out. What you had yesterday, just to give people an understanding, a peek behind the curtain, out of nowhere yesterday, credible people, I wouldn't bring it to you otherwise, okay? Credible people began to reach out to other credible people. And then what happens is there's like certainly an interconnectivity in the world of sports media and sports coverage and college football. If you want to whittle it down a little bit more and say, all right, well, let's get this collective group. This isn't a group of basketball writers. These are all people that cover the game of college football, some of who are media personalities like myself, let's say, and some who are just on the journalism side, just writers for, the few non-defunct newspapers and or websites, right? And then all of a sudden, you hear from somebody whom you respect and who has been on it. And you think, oh, it's an interesting phone call to have received, or email to have received, or text to have received. But you say, okay, well, I'm gonna need to hear from a couple of others. It's not that I don't believe that person. That person just passing along some interesting information, maybe even anecdotally. That's interesting. Okay. But then all of a sudden, disparate people who don't know one another are now reaching out to you, and they're telling you they're hearing things about conversations, meetings, potential settlements, and numbers. And you're like, oh, that's two people who I respect in the same industry, don't really know one another, reaching out to me within an hour and a half of one another. And then another one before I went to bed last night, another one this morning. And I thought, I wonder if this is all because once we heard the Pac-12 news, Tom, I was like, is this what stirred up the pot? Is this what got the soot off the bottom of the glass? Is this what happened? Like somebody just reached in and stirred it up a little bit, and now all of a sudden everybody's like, hey, what's going on here?
Let me play the role of the chat or the audience out there in their cars or listening on the podcast. So what do you think? What do you think about all of this? Do you think that something's imminent? Do you think that it's got legs?
I think that it's a classic where there's smoke, there's fire. I think some ideas are being kicked around about a subject that could essentially, how about it this way? I think some ideas and conversations are being had that would directly affect long-term what Florida State and Clemson are going to do, or moreover, what ESPN and Fox are going to do. Now, does that mean something is imminent? It doesn't. And that's why I was hesitant to talk about it. I do think that it's fair to say that for the first time in a while, perhaps these conversations were revisited. Because you had a conference now act on realignment. You had another game of musical chairs begin. It just happened again. Oh, they're playing again. I hear the music. They're playing again. And that stirs up the pot a little bit.
Maybe Cal and Stanford called the meeting because they want out. They want to go back to their own time zone. We appreciate this short-term stay. What do you say about a do-over? Can you let us out? That'd be great. We want to go back and play against these teams.
Well, I just think it's interesting because, yes, there are all kinds of things connected to this that end up being perhaps avenues for Florida State and others to perhaps, get out. Like what does happen if all of a sudden, I don't know, like the obvious one is that there's a number agreed upon. What if all of a sudden the ACC says we can't play this game forever? I don't want to keep doing this. There's an impetus for a conversation to be had. And the next thing you know, somebody says, throw $500 million out there and see if they'll do it. Who knows? These are things we've talked about before, Tom. where we've thought, I mean, is there a number? Like, what? Everybody's got a price. What if the number's obscene and they just say, you know what, this eventually is going to happen. I don't want to be tied up in court anymore. Tell them $600 million. And what if $600 million was a bridge too far unless there was somebody ready to pounce and help pay?
Right. Well, that's what this has all been about from the beginning, even back to the Texas and Oklahoma story, is what's the number? And you're going to grandstand and you're going to make a case to try and drive that negotiation whenever it happens to a window that's more palatable to you. All of my grandstanding, all of my leaking to the press, all of that is going to save us $100 million because it positions us in a better in front of a judge. Like it's those things that you're trying to do to save you money. But at the same time, you're spending, on the other hand, with all the firms that you've hired and retained for 2 different states worth of lawsuits that you're fighting. So it's a giant math equation that's going on at the same time. I don't know what the final bill will be, far more than whatever the agreed to sum is, because the lawyers made money this whole time. But maybe somebody the ACC has to be the one to lead the way there, unless the legal process forces them to a place where they call up Florida State and Clemson and say, what's the number? Or here's what we're thinking.
Yeah, they wouldn't.
They have to be the one to pick up the phone or text the message over saying, hey, can we talk? And you're trying to drive them to that place.
And what helps the whispers grow to a scream are when you have something like a president's meeting that lasts for 6 hours.
That's strange. So it went into the night?
Yeah.
What
do you exactly, Tom? You just did it. What the hell could they be discussing for all of that time? That's what happens. Maybe they're talking about something trivial. I would be annoyed if I were on a meeting for 6 hours and it was something trivial, but nonetheless, it's what happens, especially when it's synonymous with, there's this other change that's happening concurrently.
Maybe it's about a policy in which they mandate that the school band is a part of third down situations in football. Maybe it's a conference-wide edict from the top down that they want the marching band to be a part of third down.
That's a hell of a conversation. Tried and True Consulting, my friends, have an ad program. They'll give you the much-needed boost for your business, expose your company services to more people in that community, whether you have the space or need to sell more business. The program may be ideal for you. Ideal businesses for their free ad board include dentist offices, medical offices of any kind, auto repair, dealerships, bars, restaurants. Give them a call today. You'll find out they do so much more than just that. Don and Joe are both Knowles, and they'll give 10% of their net revenue to the battle's end. We could all use that these days. 844-464-6653 is the number, or scan that QR code on the screen if you're watching on Warchant TV. My friends, Tried and True Consulting, really good at what they do and giving back at the same time. Jeff Cameron Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
Tallahassee police have arrested one armed and dangerous suspect after a home invasion escalated into a shooting near Appleyard Drive Wednesday. As 2 suspects fled the scene at the Socials 2700 in a vehicle, the suspects fired several gunshots in the area. No injuries were sustained in the shooting. At this time, one suspect has been detained and officers are working to locate an additional suspect. The preliminary investigation revealed this is an isolated incident and there is no ongoing threat to public safety. The residence is near Tallahassee State College, prompting school officials to issue an alert around 3:30 p.m., urging people in the area to seek safe shelter immediately and await further instructions. The investigation remains open and active, and updates will be provided as more information becomes available. Discount grocery chain Aldi is set to open in Thomasville on Thursday, September 19th. Customers will have the opportunity to enter a sweepstake during the grand opening weekend for a chance to win a $500 Aldi gift card. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. A flood watch continues until 8 p.m. tomorrow night. Severe thunderstorms likely this afternoon. Otherwise, cloudy skies expected. Highs level off around 82. Winds out of the southeast, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Chance for storms tonight. Lows level off around 73. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Currently 74.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
It's summertime in Tallahassee, and it's gonna get hot. The last thing you want to do is your own yard work, so call the Lawn Johns instead. Here's what Linda had to say after her lawn service.
The Lawn Johns transformed my yard. Mark had excellent landscaping ideas and recommendations for the best plants for certain areas. The plan was executed efficiently, and now the yard is beautiful and full of color and variety.
Call the Lawn Johns today for all your lawn care and landscaping at 322-2567 or request a free quote online at thelawnjohns.com.
Don't miss TSC Tuesdays every Tuesday morning at 7:30 a.m. during the Greg Tish Show. Find out what's happening at Tallahassee State College every Tuesday at 7:30 a.m. on Real Talk 93.3 FM.
We are the talk of the town. Really, we are. This is Real Talk 93.3. The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Could very well be, Tom, that some of this was brought on by, and I'm talking about the length of the president's meeting and what could be happening. It could be something as simple as whether or not ESPN is deciding to extend or opt in, as it were. You know, that's what you could be talking about. Like, what are the parameters of that?
Yeah.
Because that has been something that has been discussed and needed to be discussed because time was of great importance on that.
Yeah, it could be that they're talking about their holiday party themselves, you know, and they just can't agree on what caterer to hire. And you know, barbs were being thrown. Oh, of course we're going to hire somebody from North Carolina. What a surprise. Why don't we hire somebody from, I don't know, the Greensboro area? You never know what these things. Usually presidents don't waste time, though. They are at a high enough level where they can say, I'm going home. And that's, you know, they're not held there by any means. It's funny to me because when you look at the puppet strings of a situation like this, you know, network heads like ESPN's head of sports programming and Fox Sports head of sports programming are hired to go toe-to-toe, face-to-face, and fight for the, you know, for the most rights that they possibly can. But at the same time, a level higher than them, you know, ESPN, Fox, and Turner and all this stuff, they were trying to work together on a streaming network where they bundle all live sports under one umbrella, and then they split the money. So
yeah, collusion was a part. Yes.
On some level, they work together. On some level, they fight against each other. It just depends on how high you go up the chain. And, you know, college football is a place where they're battling right now. But at some point, it could just be called by the network heads who go to have lunch every month that, well, guys, let's back off. Let's work together on reclassifying to a super football league in college on Saturdays that's 36 teams large or 48 teams large. And let's work together and split the pie. Like, I think that's where it's going eventually. Like, this skirmish that's going on right now is going to look silly 20 years from now. But it's existentially important to Florida State, this skirmish that's going on. So it's
everything. It's clouded right now by an 0-2 start, but it's still everything. It's the long-term future of your chance to compete, because you don't know, Tom, if that shift that we're talking about, the super league that we all assume is coming down the pike, you don't know if that's 5, 10, 12 years from now. And if you're 35 to 40 in the hole annually during that time, what's your program going to look like?
Right.
What are you by the time this super league begins? In the interim right now, it feels very desperate, added to the fact that, again, we're 0-2, speaking of desperate. Saturday at noon begins a stretch of 3 games that Florida State should win. Should win. I get that Cal went in and beat Auburn, so you're going to have to play well. Auburn turned it over 5 times. Memphis matches up nicely, meaning we match up nicely with Memphis is another way of phrasing it. SMU is off to a dreadful start. They've already benched their quarterback and gone to somebody new They've looked bad in both their games. I know they're 1-1, but the one win is a nail biter against Nevada, who won 2 games a year ago. The conversation, it's so easy to project from where we sit right now how different this conversation sounds in 4 weeks when you're hosting Clemson and they come to town. If Florida State is 3-2, you're talking about a rocky start that threatened to doom the entirety of the season, a nice turnaround in the interim by Florida State to get the ship back on, no longer rudderless. I was going to say put the train back on the tracks, whatever you want. The point is, all of a sudden, we know how wins and losses make us feel. Losses lead to desperation and a feeling of futility. Wins are uplifting, buoying, make you feel to some degree invincible. Now, usually you find some balance in all of that, but you got to win a game. It starts Saturday. You should win the game. Go beat Memphis here in Tallahassee, and it's a different conversation starting on Monday because you feel very good about your chance to win all 3 of these if you just play well. You've got better players than the 3 teams you're facing now. Scream it from the mountaintops, and you're right to say we had better players than the 2 teams we've already lost to. Can't do anything about those 2. Can do something about these 3 off of a bye. Had better do something about these 3 off of a bye. It starts with Memphis. You lose to Memphis and you're 0-3, and everybody is bereft of hope moving forward. You go from believing that you could be a bowl-eligible team to believing that you may win 2 games this year. Whew. Very different looking seasons. Neither are all that satisfying, but one's more satisfying than the other. Hour number 2 forthcoming. Stay with.
Hi, Chris Kraft for Infinity of Tallahassee. Guess which 2025 redesigned luxury SUV was a top pick in Newsweek's Auto Awards? Newsweek evaluated luxury SUVs based on driving experience, design, technology, and luxury features. And the all-new Infinity QX80 was a top pick. It's easy to see why. U.S. News and World Report said that even the base QX80 is, and I quote, packed to the gills with tech and comfort, including luxury upholstery, heated first and second row seats, a huge touchscreen, flip speakers, blind spot monitoring, optional 4-wheel drive, and much more. And that's just the base level. Or step up to 2 rows of massaging seats, a refrigerated center console, and more. Just sit in a QX80 and listen to the 14-speaker stereo. You'll experience a sensory sensation unlike any other. The wait is over, and the QX80 is surpassing everyone's expectations. So with new ones arriving weekly, come experience the all-new 2025 QX80 yourself, only at Infinity of Tallahassee.
222-7722. AC and electric is what we do. Service, repairs, and installation too. 222-7722. Persistent
The team at Parker Services is growing, and they have immediate openings for talented people. If you have experience in the air conditioning or electrical fields and share their values of honesty, empathy, loyalty, and professionalism, you can have a great career at Parker Services Air Conditioning and Electrical. Qualified candidates will be hired at a minimum of $25 per hour, depending on experience and qualifications. They have competitive benefits, including 401k matching, health insurance, and paid time off. Call or visit their website, TallahasseeAC.com, to apply today. CMC 050334 and EC 1301240.
At Paul's Termite and Pest Control, we know if you have something in your home that's not supposed to be there, you want it gone now.
Not in a couple of days, not tomorrow, but today. That's why we offer a same-day guarantee.
If you call Paul's before 12, one of our technicians will be out before 5. We guarantee it.
The health of you, your family, and your pets is why we promise to do everything possible to quickly resolve your problem.
And we do so using the safest chemicals. Notice a pest problem?
Call Paul's Termite and Pest Control before 12, and we're there before 5.
Call Paul's.
We'll get them all.
We're all spending more time at home than we ever have.
And our yards have become more than something we look at through the window. They are now a major part of our refuge.
Now that we're outside more, wouldn't it be great if we could eliminate the things that make us want to run back inside? Pests like mosquitoes and fire ants.
Paul's Pest Control can do just that, and we'll do it for a surprisingly low cost.
Our treatments are done outside. There is never a reason to enter your home.
The weather is beautiful, and now is the time to be outside.
Paul's Termite and Pest Control will help you take your yard back.
Call us for a free consultation.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show, live and local on Real Talk 93.3, WVFT, Crescent, Tallahassee.
Your Sports Flash update on Real Talk 93.3 brought to you by Fulmar's Pawn, Gun and Gold. More than you might expect with two great locations in Tallahassee.
We still don't know for sure who is going to start at quarterback for Florida coming up on Saturday as they have their SEC opener. They're going to match up against Texas A&M. Gators head coach Billy Napier has made the decision that he is no longer going to give out weekly depth charts. Instead, he is just going to give out the mandatory injury reports that the SEC is now requiring teams to give on a weekly basis. Other football coming up this weekend, Florida State coming up a bye week. They host Memphis, Central Florida football. They're going to open up Big 12 play this weekend when they take on TCU, and Miami is getting right for a game against Ball State. This Sports Flash is brought to you by Fulmar's Pawn, Gun, and Gold. More than you might expect with two great locations in Tallahassee. I'm Matt Pauley on Real Talk 93.3.
I juggle a lot. I'm managing constipation with belly pain from my irritable bowel syndrome with constipation, or IBS-C, with laxatives and fiber isn't enough. My doctor recommended a way to get ahead of it. Then I said yes to Linzess. Linzess linaclotide is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. It's not a laxative. It's a once-daily pill that helps you get ahead of your symptoms. It's proven to help you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. Talk to your doctor and learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS.
Searching for the best place to host an event for your friends and family? The Golf Club at Summerbrook is more than just a place for a round of golf. It's also one of the best choices for hosting and celebrating the most special days in your life. From rehearsal dinners and baby showers to corporate banquets and kids' birthday parties, you'll receive amazing personal service and attention to every detail when you choose the Golf Club at Summerbrook. Find out how affordable it can be and call us today at 850-894-GOLF. That's 850-894-GOLF.
Dream it, plan it, do it. Brian Barnard's Flooring America offers a straightforward way to shop with our streamlined shopping. Finding the right flooring is simple. Visit our newly remodeled showroom featuring the Room to Explore shopping experience, where our knowledgeable staff will walk you through the steps. Our family has been serving the area since 1976 with a local staff of more than 35 people trained in flooring sales and design. We know floors and we know styles. Let us help make your home timeless. Brian Barnard's Flooring America, where friends send friends.
This is Thomas Dickens from the Law Office of Marie Maddox. I'm a combat veteran and a former JAG. I've fought for our country, and now I fight to get you your back wages. If your boss has ever shorted your paycheck or withheld your overtime, you need to call me now. 850-383-4800. 850-383-4800. Or find us online at maddoxlaw.com. Offices in Tallahassee.
Imagine for a moment that you are completely weightless in zero gravity. All of the weight and worry of life is melted away, and you fall into a state of profound relaxation. This is what you'll find at Tallulah CBD Mushrooms THC in Railroad Square when you try out their state-of-the-art floating pods. While you're there, shop for the best quality CBD, mushrooms, THC, and kava products available. Shop Tallulah today with 6 locations in Tallahassee and the Kava Bar Lounge in Bannerman Crossings. Online at TallulahSmokes.com.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
If you're watching on Warchant TV there via YouTube, we appreciate you as well. If you're in the chat, hello, good to see you. Guys, hang tight. You guys hang in there. You're going to be okay. It's going to be all right. Got to get a win, though. Definitely got to get a win. A lot of the excessive doom and gloom is only aided by further, obviously, issues, as we've duly noted this week. There have been plenty of those. The music's still playing. Oops. It's always fun. It doesn't stop. How long does the song go, Tom?
Firewoman's, I think we've cut pretty short, so it should be stopping soon.
There have been issues.
There it is. That's where I was. There it is. Time it again. There have been issues. Where do you think Mike's head's at going into this Saturday? You got to imagine I don't mean to suggest that it's a cluttered mess. It can't be. It better be clear. It better be somewhat certain. But I gotta admit there's got to be a 9 sort of, all right. I got to see a group that wants to play. Got to see a group that cares to be there. Got to see a group that's willing to be physical. Got to see a group that I know is giving it their very best when we take the field Saturday. Because otherwise, A, there's a good chance you'll lose again. And B, it means something dastardly, which is that you've lost the voice in the locker room. You've lost the team. They've tuned you out.
Yeah, I think the offensive coordinator in Mike is in a place where things are simplified a lot. I think, what is demanded by what Memphis has put out there through 2 weeks against bad opponents is that you should run right at them. You just run right at them. And now they'll bring blitzes and they'll commit extra bodies from the second level, but they're small. That's the thing. It's just run right at them and then play off of that. So I think Mike, the offensive coordinator, probably has a vanilla-ish game plan with a couple of wrinkles if they have an answer, but it's just, let's not get too complicated here. This is a team that you should beat up front. And I know we've said that about the first 2 opponents, but I'm telling you, I don't believe, and maybe they can prove me wrong again, I don't believe our offensive line is worse than Troy's. I don't. And Troy was able to surge into the second level of Memphis defensive 6-man front, I guess you want to call it, in the 3-3-5, an awful lot. They were even able to do that in certain goal-to-go situations. So I would think that it's going to be a simple game plan. Now, Mike, the head coach and the man in charge of the psyche of the team, will wake up unsure on Saturday. He thinks he knows what he's going to see, but I also think that he's going to be quick to sub guy or quick to punch guy in that sense. If I don't see what I need to see, you're out. I got to get this other guy in. We don't have time. And I hope that that's the case. It's hard to know in the flow of the game live, watching on television or in the stands, if that's what's happening. But as we review the game and learn more about the game, hopefully we do see that if there is any type of hesitancy from an effort standpoint, that guy's out and another guy's in.
Such a weird thing, I think, for most people to have a conversation about or to hear a conversation, right? Like, it seems foreign. I know logically from watching college football over the last however many years that I've covered it. Well, I've covered it for 27 years. I've been watching it for 40 plus years. But like, you think of yourself, you think about yourself as a competitor, right? As somebody who's, if you've ever played organized sports and maybe even high level organized sports, I think the vast majority of people would say that they never needed to be, they never needed to be motivated by external factors. Like, they didn't need, like, whether or not they were in contention for something like a national title to be the thing that was dangling over their heads, the carrot that was dangled, for them to suit up and compete at the highest level, like to be their most intense and focused. It was merely that a game was being played. It was merely that this is a contest. Most people get to a place where you could even be at a place like Florida State, yes, by being incredibly athletic and talented, but also really competitive from a very early age. So I think a lot of times people find it to be insane when they hear that a team hasn't looked motivated or intensely focused, and so a lot of times I shy away from ever suggesting that they aren't focused, but rather confused and flawed and reeling emotionally and mentally, which has led to a lack of confidence. Like, a lot of those things don't involve competitive spirit, right? They don't question your integrity. If you are hesitant, it doesn't mean you don't want to be there. It doesn't mean you don't have the requisite intensity and focus. It means you're confused. It means you don't see what you need to see in order to play fast. If when they see a team that looks downtrodden as they come off the field, that could be mistaken for lethargy. That could be mistaken for a minimal effort, when in fact it could just be that one is downtrodden because what they're doing isn't working and they've been exposed again in the moment. They're embarrassed and frustrated.
Yeah. I think both
it's
things.
important. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Tom. I was just going to say, I think it's important that at the very least, certainly, you see people that are spirited playing the game, intensely focused. I don't know that through 2 games you can say you're sure that was there, but I don't know that you can say that it wasn't. And I know you've watched every single play.
Yep.
Most of these appear to be breakdowns in execution. Most of these appear to be breakdowns and some confusion to boot.
Yeah, agreed. There's a couple of positions that I think it's a little bit more than that. And to address, I mean, like, Live Spectator, you know that there's a difference between subbing, on a scheduled basis versus subbing based on merit. Like, Conrad Hussey started in game 2. That is a change based on merit, based on what Devontae Brown didn't do. So I don't know if that's a disingenuous comment or you're mistaking what I'm meaning here, which is we were criticizing the over substitution because that was on a pre-scheduled basis. Alex talked about that with the offensive line. They know what drive they're coming in. And even D-Rob said it in the offensive breakdown. Like, unless you have extreme amounts of good depth, you shouldn't do that in that situation. And he's like, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing the depth. So I'm criticizing the subbing because it's about scheduled, I don't know, strength in numbers approach. That's the philosophy. And that ain't working. But if you're seeing guys, there's a defensive lineman or two that shows up week to week and you're saying, where the hell's the effort? And I'll say it, Old Batted Balls last year was remarkable in how much effort he gave. It had nothing to do with Braden Fisk. It had nothing to do with Jared Verse. My man would play through his assignment, and if the ball was somewhere else, he would track it across the field.
He absolutely did that. I loved his effort, constant effort.
And if the ball went out to the flats, he would read it like Bjorn Werner once did. He's showing the IQ, the heart, and the hustle, where you're saying, my man, look at you. You're doing even more. And I love that. He's easily being blocked through these first 2 games. And I don't know what that is, because it's costing you so much money in the moment. When that film doesn't go away, you can put out much better film over the next 10 games, but now that's a question mark. And he's one guy that I'm pointing to, but there are a few where it seems like they're too willing to take on blocks. And so that's where, man, we don't have time. The one time they did do the substitution in Dublin with the second team defensive group with Byron Turner and Sione Lolahea, Farmer was out there, but Daniel Lyons, they got results in those situations. They looked like they were setting the edge, not in a soft manner, like Adam Fuller criticized the defense for doing, saying we were soft on the edges. So if you're seeing that softness on the edges, Adam Fuller, you got to find guys that will not be, even if they're not as good. This is a group, again, Memphis is a group that you should be able to make some plays against if at Florida State you bring the effort necessary. So it's not the same thing as a scheduled substitution.
It's inexplicable that you would see said softness repeatedly. I chalked up the first game, all that eye candy, all that motion, for our edges maybe being a little fearful and not resetting the line of scrimmage and not playing upfield, not being physical in those moments, like getting confused by all of that, right? Giving credit where credit was due to Georgia Tech, even though we knew that we were going to see that. But the game against Boston College is maddening at a couple positions, because there did seem to be some hesitance or softness in areas in which there didn't need to be. It was straightforward football. There was nothing that you should have been confused about. I don't know where that comes from. I never got a sense that was a complaint about that player previous. as you correctly pointed out, there's all kinds of great footage of him tracking down the ball miles from where he was initially lined up.
Oh, and I'll be the first to say, last year, off the record, I brought it on the record, at times, I thought he was a 15-yard personal foul walking on the field because there were times in practice he would, wear his heart on his sleeve a little too much. And I'm thinking,
it didn't happen.
But it never happened. I was wrong about that. He showed great maturity. He showed great football IQ. He showed great commitment to pursue. Like, there's even plays early in the Tech game where Josh Farmer is chasing a play down because we can't, trigger and make a tackle, and he's running 30 yards down the field to try and go make a play. Like, you're seeing some of that too. It's just, because if it's the lack of commitment, if it's the lack of results that are overwhelming you, whatever the reason, it doesn't matter. If you have a drive on Saturday where you're seeing guys not put out the effort that you know that they can, that you've seen them put out there before, it has to be a zero tolerance. You have no time. If you're Mike, you have no time to even let that sit for an extra play, in and out, and then go talk to him on the sideline and get him back out there like you did Deuce Spann if they needed talking to. But it's just, I think that micromanaging thing, he's got to be ready for that on Saturday.
Well, the worst part of it is that you have somehow squandered this goodwill, this unbelievable goodwill that was engendered in every fan that watched 13-0. It's remarkable to think. And if it hasn't happened yet to all of them, 0-3 guarantees it. You fool around and go 0-3 in which you were a favorite in every single game and unquestionably have more talent than those three teams that you're facing. If you're 0-3, it really doesn't matter the reason. The average fan, even the diehard fan, will say, well, something's broken. We can speculate all day as to why and how. Doesn't really matter. It's broken, and that falls at the feet of the $10 million man. And that's just true. That's true. And what you fear is that something like that then requires massive change. Now, I would suggest that he's going to have to make significant change already, and is probably in the midst of thinking about that himself, because that's hard. Change is hard, and especially if you have an affinity for somebody whom now you're looking at with a jaundiced eye. But I do believe that you would have the most unwavering supporter of Mike Norvell questioning that support if they're 0-3 with losses to Georgia Tech, Boston College, and Memphis.
Yeah. And again, I know what we said about the first two games, so you can remark on that. The expectations for the trenches that have not been lived up to for whatever reason. This is a step down in the trenches in terms of quality of opponent. If you can't do this, I'm not saying it's the bare minimum, like, whoever we're playing, Chattanooga, Charleston Southern, whoever it is in November, that's the bare minimum. But as far as, Division 1A goes, the old school division, FBS football, I mean, Memphis has good athletes. They've got a good quarterback, especially their running backs are good. The quarterback is smart as a whip. But trench-wise, you got a chance here. The receivers haven't shown to be anything special so far this season. Fellas, I mean, it would be, what would you say you do here, Territory, if you can't perform on Saturday?
On the flip side, if you can right the ship and here you are as a 6.5-point favorite, you will not erase the two losses from the memories of Florida State fans who are frustrated by both the game experience and the outcomes. But you will help get them refocused on what lies ahead and not what just happened. Get a win. You got a chance at another one against Cal the following game at home. And certainly SMU has come out the gates looking every bit as bad as you have. So that game now that we speculated might be a bit of a problem because of what we thought SMU to be, doesn't appear to be the same sort of contest that we once pictured in the offseason. So I think Florida State, then all of a sudden you're on a 3-game win streak and things get changed. Now, this is not going to be a great year, but I do have to see signs of health, signs of a healthy approach to a game and game week of practice and execution in said game.
I feel like the pregame speech should be very simple. It goes like this. Now, fellas, fellas, guys, Okay, let's go. Like that's come on now.
Yeah. I shouldn't have to be reaching into my bag of tricks to try to inspire you. Romans and Carthage. What are we doing here? Like, this is what's going on,
Fellas. I mean, right? Right, fellas? Right? Okay, come on now. Come on, let's do it.
Yeah. Why am I standing? Come on. Seriously, guys, this is ridiculous. Now, I understand.
There have been issues.
But we today are putting that to rest. We are done.
There have been issues.
With these issues. It's an afterthought after today.
There have been issues.
Yeah. Duly noted. Duly noted. It ends today. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Kimmy Hogan with Basic Brooks Law Offices, and we believe you. Now, what does that mean? Over and over, we hear from the people that we represent that when they shared their story of how they were injured, either law enforcement, insurance companies, or business owners didn't believe their story. That's why you need an attorney who has your back, no matter what. An attorney who starts by believing you're telling the truth. We are Basic Brooks, and we believe you. Let's talk. 850-777-7777.
Howdy, folks. Jeff Cameron here to tell you about my friends at DexaFit Tallahassee. What is DexaFit, you might ask? Well, it's where you want to go if you're looking to elevate your health and fitness journey. DexaFit's exclusive services include AI-enhanced body scans, VO2 max fit testing, and RMR metabolism analysis to provide detailed insights into your body composition, cardiovascular fitness, and metabolic well-being. Sounds like a lot of science, but that's because it is the most advanced science available. In fact, that's a good thing, right? DexaFit gives you immediate detailed insights about your body composition, provides a customized plan to improve on troubled areas, delivered in an easy-to-navigate mobile app so you can share the information with your trainer or even your doctor to find the most direct path to your peak health. Check out DexaFit Tallahassee, the most accurate and most state-of-the-art body composition scanning and fitness planning available. Located on Capitol Circle Northeast, directly next to Bumpus. Check them out online at DexaFit.com and tell them Jeff Cameron sent you. DexaFit Tallahassee. Know your body and transform your life.
No matter how busy life gets, your home is the place where your family and friends show you they care and celebrate with you. That's why the professionals at Barano Heating and Air Conditioning always make sure your home is comfortable. Just like those who matter to you most, Barano will always be there for you.
This is Tyler from Barano Heating and Air. Now you can schedule an appointment, purchase or renew your service agreement, or pay your bill from your mobile device. Any day, anytime, anywhere. When you turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air, online at baranoac.com.
Florida license number CAC 1860186.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Due to customer demands, Falmers has extended their end of summer sale until Monday, September 16th at both locations. Many have saved big, as much as 70% off their favorite items, including jewelry, electronics, bikes, and tools. And now you'll buy with even bigger discounts. Plus, Falmers is now discounting all pre-owned firearms too. This is a great time to buy from Falmers. And if you have something of value you no longer need, use that item as cash. We'll trade with you. Hurry in for your best selection. Falmers Pawn, Gun, and Check Cashing. More than you might expect with 2 great locations.
This is Alex from Falmers. We've been buying gold and silver jewelry, fine watches, and other collectibles for over 45 years. But did you know Falmers buys and sells gold and silver coins, bars, and bullion? Don't get scammed online or pay high shipping and handling fees. Call or stop by Falmers for a quick and easy quote. No matter if you're new to investing in bullion or have been collecting a lifetime, Falmers is your local source for buying, selling gold and silver coins and bullion. Falmouth, more than you might expect with 2 great locations.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Tired of learning lessons, but certainly this is a lesson in how quickly things can change, both for the good and bad, and how that informs the conversation. It is interesting to me. There's no shortage of people who now would like to see Mike Norvell no longer be the head coach at Florida State. When just a couple of years ago, after a 10-win campaign, we began to see the silver lining and where this thing was headed. It was followed up by a 13-win campaign, winners of 19 straight at one point, and the belief was that you had a guy that not only could navigate the future of college football, which was, in fact, the proper usage of the portal, trying to find some balance with that in high school recruiting, and obviously fostering a really good relationship with a collective, in this case, the Battle's Inn, who could provide opportunities in NIL for big-time players who were obviously choosing which school to play for. Now, 2 games to start the season have gone terribly south, both games in which you were heavily favored. You've lost them both, and it seems that none of the goodwill that was engineered by those 2 years worth of great results seems to matter. I get it. I understand it, and how quickly we forget about the many things that were done right to get here. I will say that is a business. This is a business of what have you done lately. What have you done for me lately is certainly true in the world of college athletics and professional coaching, college coaching, you name it. When people are making that kind of money, people are right to ask, how are you doing your job? Good or poor? Are you great or terrible? Right now, things are not good. They got to get a win. I think there's a certain freedom that comes with an awful start like this, and that is to suggest that if you're Mike Norvell, and Tom, you touched on this moments ago, you do not have to acquiesce to anybody at this point. They aren't doing their job. It's going to be very easy, I would think, in the heat of battle at this point, to not hesitate when somebody is not giving effort or through matters of maybe not understanding. I don't care which. The job is being done or it is not. If it is not, I'm going to attempt to put somebody in there who will do it better. It doesn't take much time. It takes a play or 2. I've seen 2 games worth of plays in which it didn't happen. If you're loafing and or just not executing, the result is the same. The play is a failure. I don't really care which. One is more damning than the other, and that's for a different conversation for you and me privately in my office after said game. But in the minute that this is happening, or the moment, I need to make the change. I've got to make the change. You've got a bunch of good young players who may not be ready, but it's not through a lack of athleticism. They have the requisite size, speed, and strength. Many of them do. And most of them would be playing if we got halfway through the first quarter and I was seeing the same sort of impotence that I had seen through 2 games. That's it. You smoke or get smoked. I don't care how good DJ practices. If he sucks in this game and is missing wide open guys routinely, Brock's coming in. May not work. I don't have time to wait. Let's find out.
It's just, again, this is an opportunity. It's ripe. And, Memphis is going to be in a different place for this game than they were for North Alabama and Troy. Like, that's the other thing. You watch those games and you see that they're in third gear and they know that they're going to be blowing out those 2 opponents. So, Troy was with them for a quarter, but they kind of were, kind of not were last week. And you could get that feeling. It's a feeling that we've had before at Florida State, not too long ago, maybe last year, where, you could feel it, that they don't feel existentially worried about the game. They're not worried about losing the football game. We'll put them down, and Memphis has. In this instance, they're going to be so fired up. They've been installing for Florida State for a month.
Oh, yeah, and you can hear the comments from their coach this week. You can tell they're fired up, yeah.
Right, and so there's going to be tricks. There's going to be things that have not been on film the first couple of weeks. I'm sure they're going to install things and concepts that Boston College was able to take advantage of and Georgia Tech, and we're going to see very similar things to what we saw those 2 weeks. And you have to prove that you can stop all of those things. So you're going to get a different Memphis group that was there for Troy and for North Alabama. But I'm telling you, those trenches are for the taking. And so is the secondary for Memphis as well. It's a battle of maybe, Florida State's worst offensive position and Memphis, perhaps its worst defensive position. But I'd love to see Kentron Poitier an awful lot more this week. Look, he won some battles against Tech as well. So that's 2 games of him showing up and answering the call, answering the challenge that Mike issued in fall camp. So does he get more run? Does he get more plays designed for him? How much is Hakeem Williams out there? How much can he help in the perimeter screen game, the perimeter run game, and then obviously at wide receiver? Like, it just, these are some things that I'm very excited to see. This is a defense you should be able to pick on, but you got to go do it and see the ball go through the hoop. Last week when we were at Hotel Indigo, I was saying they need to see the ball go through the hoop. And what happened? You're down 2 scores before you blink. And Mike Norvell doesn't see the ball go through the hoop. He sees his life flashing before his eyes in the beginning of the second quarter on the sideline.
Well, he sees a failed attempt that was born out of desperation, and that was sort of fascinating in and of itself. That's the first real sort of perhaps desperation we've seen Mike coach with, right? Where there's this faraway stare that you're talking about suggested that the things he thought would work were not, and now there was nothing to fall back on because he was hell-bent on spreading some people out and throwing the football. And it wasn't working. Now, you can say, and you indeed, D-Rob did a great job of breaking all this down, you can say things were there, but if they're not executed, if that's not working, then perhaps, you know, at this point, you don't know that you can trust the guy pulling the trigger or the players that you have in these positions. And I know you can trust Lawrence Toafili. I get it. That was a huge drop early in the game. You'd like to believe that you could trust Morlock because he's been one of your better players in camp, but what a nightmare that night was for him. And now it's a big day for him on Saturday because you want to be able to go right back to him. I would think early in this game, Toafili is going to have a chance to make amends and Morlock is going to have a chance to make amends. There's going to be sort of a for lack of a better term, Tom, sort of a chin check here on your emotions and your composure. Are you able to get right back out there and do what I know you can do athletically? I already know you know the plays. You've been in the right spots. You just haven't made the plays. Are we confident still? I got to find out because I don't have time to wait this time around. I got to get people out there that are going to execute. He has said this repeatedly in his media availability, which is you've got to find a way to make this translate on Saturday. You know, he gets asked about practice all the time because that's when we get him. But he has made it a point to say, well, I thought we did a lot of things very, very well, but we got to bring it to the field on Saturday in a game. Yeah, man. Yes. Because lots of things have been executed perfectly in practice for some time now. As we all pointed out, both in spring and fall, it has not translated into games.
No, and it's contagious the bad way because a lot of things have been executed very well by 10 guys on a play, and nobody wants to hear that, you know, because the result at some point, you should make enough plays to beat Boston College. You should make enough plays, even if you have a few where 10 guys do the right thing and the 11th doesn't, to beat Georgia Tech. And I understand that. The margin of error should be wide enough to where that doesn't become a concern. But when the margin of error is such that we felt 24-21 against Georgia Tech wasn't representative of how much we got our ass kicked after the first drive, and 28-13 is very much representative of how much Boston College took it to us. And guys, again, this is whatever those plays are. Unfortunately, you kind of need to make them to be in the fight, but you got to start doing so. Like we could talk about it, and we could talk about schemes and personnel, and if they don't do it, then they're going to have that, you know, oh, woe is me energy about them all over again. And that's how, you know, any team can be in a game with you because you don't believe in yourself.
It is weird because part of the discussion has been, did Mike misevaluate the portal class? What is it, 16, 17 players that he brought in? And it is fair to push back and say, why should that ever be a conversation 2 games into the year against the likes of Georgia Tech and Boston College? Those would be the conversations you're having after you face Clemson, Miami on the road, maybe Florida at the end of the year, Notre Dame on the road, because that's where the fine line of success or failure is highlighted by a few plays or a few players here or there, right? Not in games in which you have overwhelmingly better talent. It should not be the talking point now. It should have been the talking point after you played Clemson or after you went to Miami. If you came up just short or it pushed you over the edge, we'd say, yay or nay on those evaluations of the portal players. It shouldn't matter at all if those Porter players are what you thought they would be in a game against Boston College or in a game against Georgia Tech, shouldn't matter. You should be able to win those games. If nary a one of those Porter players played, you should be able to win those 2 games.
Well, and also you should know what you are through 2 games. And other than bad, we don't know what we are. You know,
I was going to say, I know what we are.
Well, I mean, offensively, what are we? Are we a running team? No. Are we a passing team? Don't want to be. Do we? I mean, so where are you? Are we a spread team? Are we condensed? I don't know. This week, come on now. Let's see a through line to at least one of the games against BC and Georgia Tech, and maybe we can understand what we want to be defined by. The offensive line is going to have to do its part, though, and it has not.
Jeez, it has not. That is a sad sight to behold. Use the discount code Jeff25 for 25% off any of the services at Dexafit. I saw where on the boards somebody noted the Dexafit ads that they heard on the Jeff Cameron show, and they were excited about going over to Dexafit and getting a DexaScan. And then finding out what their results are and looking at that mobile app, which is free, and figuring out, hey, here's where my lean muscle mass is at. Here's where the visceral fat is at. Here's how much fat I have on this side of my body or that side of my body. It gives me a letter grade. It lets me know my body composition. It gives me a biological age to track my improvement, because as I get in better shape, that number comes down if I'm older, obviously. That's a good thing. Do it every 3 to 6 months is what is recommended. So many good things that are offered at Dexafit that help you on your track to wellness and maximizing your fitness. And now you can save a lot of money. They're right over there by Bumpa's, which is delicious. You can go get some food, then turn around and get maybe right after you get the DexaScan, use Jeff25. That's the discount code, 25% off any services at Dexafit. That is Jeff25. Jeff Cameron Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Our local news now.
An overnight shooting Wednesday in northwest Tallahassee left a man seriously injured, according to Tallahassee police. The incident unfolded a little after midnight in the 2500 block of West Tennessee Street. No arrests have been made. Officers responded to the scene and found a man suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. He was taken to a local hospital with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. An investigation revealed that he and the suspect knew each other and engaged in an altercation before the shooting. The investigation is ongoing. A Bainbridge Middle School staff member is being treated after an accident during the morning arrival of students yesterday. On Wednesday, a staff member was directing traffic on College Street when a vehicle hit him. Decatur County School says his injuries were non-life-threatening. The staff member was checked by medical personnel and is receiving treatment for his injuries. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. A flood watch continues until 8 p.m. tomorrow night. A flood advisory continues until 3 p.m. this afternoon. Thunderstorms likely this afternoon. Otherwise, mainly cloudy skies expected. High temperatures reach up to 82. Winds out of the southeast, 8 to 15 miles per hour. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Currently 74.
Homeowners, this is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, and I want to talk to you today about consolidating your debt. Are you struggling with your monthly expenses? Consumer spending and overall debt are reaching all-time highs, while homeowners are sitting on trillions of dollars in untapped equity in their homes. Don't be afraid to walk away from that 2% mortgage while you're paying double-digit interest rates on credit cards and lines of credit and drowning in debt. Let's talk about how we can consolidate your debt, lower your overall monthly payments, and potentially save you thousands of dollars in the process. Give me a call at 954-369-6171. Again, 954-369-6171. And this is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, and I'm at 954-369-6171.
Equal housing NMLS 373031.
Your destination for the most authentic Peruvian flavors in the capital city is Café de Martín and El Bar, where you can escape to another world and indulge in the true taste and experience of Peru. Enjoy daily lunch specials like our all-new lomo saltado or beef asado sandwiches served with a side and a drink. All-day happy hour every day and exciting live entertainment every weekend. Join us this Friday at 7 p.m. for the exciting sounds of CJ Beach. View our full menu and live music schedule online at cafedemartin.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Helps when you put it in program. By the way, LSU -7 versus South Carolina. FSU -6.5 against Memphis. That tells you where my head's at about the game on Saturday. I've got Florida getting 3.5 against Texas A&M on a redemption Thursday. Pitt +2 versus West Virginia. Think they'll win the game outright. UConn +16.5 against Duke. I feel good about that too. Yeah, probably. We've got USF -11 against Southern Miss. Indiana -2.5 against UCLA. Buffalo -3.5 against UMass. And in the National Football League, Jacksonville -3 versus Cleveland. San Fran -5 against the Vikings. I look very public with those two picks. Tonight, I can't get a sense, but Miami should win. Miami ought to win. Miami kind of needs to win. They've lost 11 of 12 to Buffalo. They're at home. Buffalo's on a short week. That's not a good look to lose this one. It would make 12 of 13, and it probably would give a sense that you're not going to win the division again.
You're right. The Jacksonville line, we were talking about this yesterday as it pertained to a couple of college football lines. Or maybe it might have been Monday. Either way, that line is the NFL looking at you in the eyes, not blinking, not breaking concentration, saying, go ahead. You really, okay. No, I see. You're choosing Jacksonville. You think Jacksonville is 3 points better than the Browns. Okay.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
Go ahead, make the pick. Go ahead.
Well, the funny part about that is I had that exact feeling as I made that pick, and I said, here's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you, NFL. I'm telling you that the quarterback situation in Cleveland is untenable, but they're not going to give up on Deshaun Watson because they have too much invested in him. Until they can know for certain that with cause they can void that contract, and maybe that day's coming in the not-too-distant future. Certainly these charges are ugly, or at least these accusations are. And they are crossing their fingers that he did it. They want to get out from under this insane contract for a player who removed the morality, removed the criminality, removed all of the other things that are distractions and problems and potentially devastating. He looks shot, broken, physically, no longer any good at all. Crazy errant throws, awful, awful body language, lost faraway gaze after lost faraway gaze after yet another missed throw on 2nd and 6 to a wide open receiver. The inability to run like he once did and the refusal to do so. So many things suggest he's shot in addition to, perhaps being a rapist, perhaps. Now, if they could get out from under that, they'd do it in a second. But until then, they're not going to bench him. And if he continues to play, I don't think they can win. Their defense is really good, but not when it's put into awful situations time and again by an incompetent quarterback who's broken down. So that's why, Tom, I said, I see you. You're daring me, and I'm telling you they cannot overcome that quarterback, and I will take Jacksonville. And they're saying, fine, buddy.
Yep.
But that defense plays. That defense plays. And all I got to do is lose by a field goal.
Yeah, that's what
be a push.
They're saying, okay, well, you've placed the bet. Good luck. That's and you'll see, it'll come down to, you might cover, but it'll come down to a key play in the fourth quarter, a double deflected pass, and somebody comes away with a pick to either seal it or screw you. That's the beauty. The margins of the NFL are so slim, and that's where the few possessions also matter a lot more. We talked about that when Florida State and Tech played a game with the fewest possessions since 2020, including all Service Academy games, and how quickly it went. That's the NFL every week. There's not much margin because you hardly have the ball.
Do you want to take this bet?
No. No.
Do you want to take the
You know
other
what?
side?
I should. I
You
should.
man. Come on, buddy. You want to take the bet? Let's go. Tall boys on the line.
Tall boys on the line. I really should just do this every time the NFL has a line like this on principle. Bet the other way. Like, it's so obvious that blank should win that I feel like this is a trap. I should just always take the trap line on the other side. So go ahead. We'll do it.
All right. Tall boys it is. Well, 4-pack of whatever tall boys we want to pay the other. I don't care. You pick your 4. I'll pick my 4.
The Old English, 32 ounce. I'll take a couple of those.
I went through a stretch when I was, I think it was the stretch between after I left Etsu. Yeah, there was like a summer where I drank OE every Friday night with the boys.
What was the malt liquor that had the shamrock on it? There was a green one. Do you remember that one?
Murphy's. Not Murphy's.
That was Murphy's
Murphy's?
Stout. No.
That was Murphy's Stout. You're right. That was why are you asking me this? I knew this. Mickey's Big Mouth. Mickey's.
I asked you because I knew you would know the answer.
Yeah, it was Mickey's. Mickey's Big Mouth. They had the Big Mouth cans that you could. I had a buddy, by the way. Ross is out there, perhaps not listening, but Ross he had that ability to do the thing where you just clear your throat, where you open your throat and you can just pour a drink in, and like you've seen guys drink a pitcher in like 1 second.
Yeah.
We would use him as a party trick, man. People would come over for the parties that we had off of St. Augustine, and we lived in townhouses there. And I remember we'd be like, "Hey, Ross, when these new guys come over, let's bet them that you can finish a 6-pack of Mickey's Big Mouth inside of 2 minutes. They'll take the bet, and we'll win free beer for the night." But the problem was Ross would say, "Okay," but he knew that he needed to be taken care of the rest of the night because he just drank 6 cans of malt liquor in 2 minutes.
How many years have you taken off of Ross's life for the prospect of free beer?
You know what's crazy is Ross went on to be in like military intelligence. Like he's a brilliant guy, he did very well for himself. But like that guy.
So I still hunt for it and I cannot find it. You know, YouTube will have a lot of vintage commercials, and they're doing that more and more as my age group gets as old as we do. Like you see it on Instagram. It's like, hey, here's your favorite One Saturday Morning commercial from ABC Saturday Morning Cartoons.
Sure.
Well, there was an O'Doul's commercial where the jingle was like, "Give me an O'Doul's," and it was like a guitar riff. And a guy slams an entire beer like that with the opening of the throat, but it's an O'Doul's, so it makes no sense.
What's the point of you slamming an O'Doul's, dude?
You're slamming it. I think in those days it might have been like a 0.2% or a 0.3%. But why are you slamming a 0 ABV beer? It makes no sense.
Yeah, those guys that can do that have the ability to do that, to just clear it and it just pours like it's a drain. You're just pouring a pitcher into a drain, like in the sink. You see, those people exist online. You've seen them, but I'm just telling you, watching Ross chug Mickey's Big Mouth, it was something to behold. I remember thinking, well, this is going to get weird. This is not going to end well, because it takes a while for it to get into your bloodstream, and he would just be walking around normal, and then all of a sudden he would go to talk, and he'd hear, and I would go, oh, there it is. There it is. It's happened.
A buddy of mine who ended up playing college ball, he was a trench player, really.
I know who he is. We can say his name.
Well, no, there's a couple of them that I haven't talked about. Still at D1. Or maybe it is him and I'm covering his tracks. You don't know. But he was really into this type of a challenge. But he didn't have the skill. So he would chug
he was
old
just trying
school.
to do it. Yeah, that's not good.
And it's really not good. And one night he did it a couple of times, made some money. The third time, it came back up with everything that he had consumed in the past 6 hours.
No.
My buddy had to scramble and empty one of the large plastic bins and have him sleep in the garage next to the plastic bin. You went in there the next morning and it was almost full. It was wretched.
I see people in the chat. Let me tell you something. The 2 worst beers that I've ever had a hangover from are Red Dog and Ice House. Ice House is the worst beer ever made.
It is.
They retroactively, there ought to be a lawsuit, and we should all be entitled some sort of class action suit where we get our money and then whatever the cost of the day that was lost the following day because of our Ice House hangover. Ice House was nonsense, and people would bring in kegs of Ice House because it was cheap, and it was the worst beer ever, and you were guaranteed to get a hangover drinking Ice House. It's ooh.
Yeah, if my buddy show and yours too, show contributor Chris is listening, that was a night that we'll all regret for a lot of reasons. But it started with an Ice House keg, and they were rubber. Kegs weren't even metal. It was the black rubber. It was disgusting, just wretched. And it was $35 a keg or whatever it was. And
it was awful.
It felt worth it, and it was the dumbest thing we've done a lot of dumb things in our undergrad. That was probably the dumbest thing we ever did.
I've got a good picture of me getting loose off of the Coors Light party ball.
Oh, yeah.
Remember the party ball? You used to go into your Publix and all that. You could see those party balls were down on the bottom row. You're like, oh, let's get a party ball. It was so easy to do. You're like, oh, I'll grab a party ball. You don't think, let's do a party ball.
Yeah, the party ball, it made a comeback in my upper class years. They didn't exist, and then finally they started distributing them to Tallahassee. And so what we would do the last day of each semester, if everybody was around after exams. So once
you
you're
grab a damn party ball is what you would do.
You get a party ball, and you go to Momo's and get the largest pizza, 2 of them. And we had to get my buddy Brian because his trunk was large enough to fit him because he had an old Lincoln.
So you can carry party ball. You could carry party balls out onto the beach or wherever you were.
Oh no, that was the pizzas from Momo's. They're too big to fit in most cars.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
So you get 2 boxes of the pizza, and you throw them in the trunk, and then we'd have the party ball, and we play games until whatever time. And those were simpler times, buddy.
I'm 53 years old. We got a party ball for my 21st birthday. I just remembered that right now. And the picture of me drinking from the party ball, I'm wearing a Jane's Addiction tour shirt from having seen them earlier in the year. So think about how much time Jane's Addiction has been around. I had seen him in St. Pete earlier that year. I'm 53. I was turning 21 at the Jane's Addiction show, or right around that time. For that Jane's Addiction show, I can still remember my other buddy getting busted. I'll just say this: hot boxing at the show as we were getting ready to go in, and a cop came over and knocked on the window. I was not. And it was a great show, and the cop was cool. All he did was take his supplies for the hot boxing, right, and said, "Enjoy the show."
Yeah, and then he enjoyed his shift, is what he did after he took the supplies.
Or maybe after his shift. Maybe we'll give him enough credit to say perhaps it was after his shift. But I remember saying to said friend, "Hey, man, I think that's a cop." And him going, "No, don't worry about it." And me going, "I'm pretty sure that's a cop walking right towards us." And him going, No, it's not a cop. And I'm like, "That is a dude. He's about to knock on the window." And then there it was. Knock, knock, knock. And I'm thinking, damn it, man, I just want to see Jane's Addiction. This is going to suck.
My one buddy in college enjoyed a hot box so much that I would intentionally mess with him, and I would talk very low or with no volume at all. And he'd be like, "What?" He's like, and then I would say, "What, you didn't hear me?" And he'd like, "No." And he'd check his ears, and I'm like, "What?" And he'd go, "What?" Yes, it was. It always worked too, because he hotboxed for hours at a time.
Hours at a time. Good Lord, that is some hot boxing.
Very hot box.
We have been in here. Oh, that is true, Stephen. We did. That was later on. We did. Yes, sir. You're right. That wasn't you. I should note, Noel, that Mike's Beer Barn, legendary, of course, as we all know. I was explaining this to my mother, who was here this past weekend, and she's out to a healthy 3-game lead. The Redemption Thursday wagers have nothing to do with tomorrow's Libations Friday wagers, which I've got to bounce back. I lost 5-2 over the weekend. Just down 3. We swung for the fences early. Some upset picks didn't work out. Anyhow, I was just explaining to her how absurd it was, and still is, and she didn't realize that, like the best thing to come out of COVID, Tom, is the fact that you can get drinks to go. Like, that seems odd to me. I'm not saying you should drink them while you're driving home, but I'm saying you could get drinks to go. That was born out of the COVID situation, going to restaurants and be like, "Hey, listen, can I get a margarita to go?" Make it a Puerto Rican. Always struck me as weird that Mike's Beer Barn, you could go and order a gallon. We could get a gallon of like natural light for 75 cents, and they're just handing you a gallon of beer. Like, don't mind if I do. Have a good one. That's crazy.
Yeah, you're correct. There are a few good things that came out of COVID, and that is one of them. That the state decided not to roll that law back, and it occurs to me every once in a while because I'll crave a specific cocktail, and I'll be at say our friends at Corner Pocket right before, and I'll go there for the late window or the 8 p.m. window, but I want to watch Pac-12 at home or West Coast games now.
Yeah, I'm going to get me a little something to go, get home, and throw. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And every once in a while, I'll remember, maybe twice a season, where I'll go, oh, I don't have it in my stock, but they can pour it for me right freaking here. And I'll take 2 of them, and they put saran wrap around them, and then I'm good to go.
Well, you know, you're the sangria gorilla. You could just roll right up there to Gordo's and be like, I want 5 of those sangrias that y'all make. Let's go.
As long as it's not like the one that Kayla made about 9 years ago, then we're fine. Yeah. Good.
Well, you were very excited about the Ryder Cup. And
that day that's on me. No, the Ryder Cup day, that was all me. That is patriotism shining through, sir, and jingoism shining through. The Kayla one was on a random Thursday, and it was Long Island powered instead of a proper sangria.
I just remember walking in to take my seat at the bar going, I'm supposed to meet Tom here. He'll be here. I think you had texted me that you were there, and next thing I know, I'm like, my man, we are done. Grand opening, grand closing.
I could have a couple of sangrias within just the greeting. The normal strength sangria, my tolerance was high, but that was not the sangria recipe. That was Everclear is what that was.
That was like, get you some ingredient is what that was. Hour number 3. Hang in there. We're about to go there if I stop pressing buttons untimely as they are. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
I'm Caleb. I'm the lawn supervisor at Paul's Termite and Pest Control, and I really do love my job. Paul's has created an incredible work environment that always puts our customers' needs first. Their needs are our concerns, and my particular job of improving the health of North Florida lawns is something I truly enjoy. I'm an outdoor person, and I get to be outside all day, watching the lawns run through the stages full of weeds to weedless to lush, grass-filled landscapes is very rewarding. I'm proud to represent Paul's.
I'm Jay. Having the privilege to work with people like Caleb and all of our employees is truly an honor. There is no doubt that the staff of Paul's Termite and Pest Control is the best in our industry. All of our people are local, and local really does mean something. We are North Floridians. Our kids go to school here. We shop here. We build relationships here, and we honor our commitments. To all of our customers, thanks for trusting us to protect your family, pets, and home.
For the elimination of termites, any other pests, and a greener lawn too, call Paul's. We'll get them all.
This announcement is brought to you by Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey.
If you're driving right now, you should know there's an 80% chance that the cars all around you don't carry any bodily injury insurance. Most people don't realize it, but in Florida, all the law requires is that drivers carry property damage insurance. This means that the texting teen drifting over into your lane or the drag racer on your rear bumper have no way of compensating you or your loved ones when they cause a crash. And this should scare the hell out of you. Fortunately, there's an easy way to protect your family from this, and it's called uninsured motorist coverage. It's an absolute must, but a lot of insurance companies are convincing folks to drop it just to save a few dollars. Take it from the personal injury experts. Don't. At Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey, we've recovered millions of dollars in uninsured motorist coverage in crashes where our clients would have otherwise received nothing. So please, call your agent right now and make sure you have uninsured motorist coverage on your policy. We hope you'll never need it, but we'll be here for you if you ever do. Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey. Don't settle for less.
Time. It's the one thing we never get back. We can't create it. We can't buy it. We can't store it somewhere. Once it's gone for good, which makes it the most valuable thing we have. The only real question is how we spend our time. So, how much time are you spending every day running in circles with a computer network using old software on old equipment that's wasting your time, that gets in the way and leaves you feeling angry and frustrated? Let's fix that. Call Crown Networking. They've been helping people just like you and I make the best use of their time for the last 20 years. Now is the time for you to make the call. Here's the number in Tallahassee, 999-0090. 999-0090. Or online at crownnetworking.com. Oh, and talk to them about getting you a new phone system, too. You know, it's time.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT. Present Tallahassee.
Your sports action update on Real Talk 93.3 with all the latest odds from Vegas. Brought to you by Fulmar's Pawn, Gun and Gold. More than you might expect with two great locations in Tallahassee.
Texas A&M, a 3.5-point favorite at the Florida Gators at the Swamp. 46.5 the total. Florida State looks for its first win of the season. They're laying 6.5 against Memphis. 52 the total at Doak Campbell Stadium. UCF, a 2.5-point road favorite at TCU. South Florida, 11.5-point road favorites at Southern Mississippi. The Jacksonville Jaguars play their home opener at Everbank Stadium on Sunday against the Cleveland Browns. Jacksonville, the 3-point favorite, 41.5 the total. Thursday night football today, the Miami Dolphins, 2.5-point home favorites against the Buffalo Bills, 48.5 the total. Bundle and save with Progressive. Progressive.com. For more sports betting news and information, go to VSIN.com. Mike Sennett, Real Talk 93.3.
Right now at Macy's, it's the perfect time to start looking ahead to fall. Shop all the on-trend wardrobe updates you can wear now and keep wearing later, like flowy full-length dresses and easy lightweight layers, like blazers, cardigans, and jackets. And Macy's has great deals on fall updates for every room in your home, like warm bedding and kitchen essentials. Plus, download the app for exclusive savings, inspiration, and more today at Macy's.
Welcome to Staples.
Hi, I need a printer for the office.
Staples has the best brands like HP.
Well, I have some demands.
Oh.
Burton Sales demands it be fast.
HP's Office Jet Pro is super fast.
Megan Marketing demands color prints.
Check.
And Crypto Controller demands I don't overpay.
With Staples hot deals, you get up to 40% off select HP printers.
Oh, great. My job can be
demanding?
I was going to say a lot of fun.
Right now at Staples, save up to 40% on select HP printers, America's most trusted printer brand. Ends 9/28.
Tallahassee is full of rich history and traditions. When you think of things that jump out in the minds of longtime residents, the state capitol, McClay Gardens, the Springtime Tallahassee Parade, FSU and FAMU Sports, the St. Mark's Lighthouse, St. George Island, and Paul's Termite and Pest Control. Paul's has been protecting thousands of people, their pets, their homes, and their lawns in the capital region for over 50 years. Locally founded and still locally owned and operated. There aren't many businesses in our industry that keep it together that long. Paul's Pest Control has many customers we've been honored to serve for over the last 50 years. We've experienced tremendous changes in how we treat homes and protect the people that live there. We've moved from liquid termite treatments that require drilling into the home's foundation to Centricon, a baiting system which works with their natural biology. We've moved from interior service to exterior treatments for general pests. But one thing we're not going to change is our old-fashioned commitment to personal service for each of our customers, the same way we've been doing it for over 50 years.
For the elimination of termites, any other pests, and a greener lawn too.
Call Paul's.
We'll get them all.
No matter how busy life gets, your home is the place where your family and friends show you they care and celebrate with you. That's why the professionals at Barano Heating and Air Conditioning always make sure your home is comfortable. Just like those who matter to you most, Barano will always be there for you.
This is Tyler from Barano Heating and Air. Now you can schedule an appointment, purchase or renew your service agreement, or pay your bill from your mobile device. Any day, anytime, anywhere. When you turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air. Online at baranoac.com.
Florida license number CAC 1816186.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Jay Cameron Show. And if you're watching on YouTube, of course, Warchant TV, we appreciate that as well. A little levity towards the end of last hour. That's always fun. Redemption Thursday wagers have been posted. Go ahead and throw them up there, Tommy, and we'll recap my bets so far today. Going to incorporate more NFL as we go along here. It's kind of hard to do it early in the year. Let's start at the top with LSU giving the 7 to South Carolina. FSU, I'm gonna pull myself up by the bootstraps. I'm gonna dare myself to do it. I'm gonna pick the Noles as the better team to win the game and do so by more than a touchdown. I'll lay the 6.5 against Memphis on Saturday. We'll know early whether that's a cash out early too. Florida getting 3.5. I don't think Texas A&M is real good. I don't know. They never went on the road either. Give me Florida plus 3.5. Pittsburgh, that would be the Panthers getting 2 against West Virginia, who I also don't think is very good. UConn plus 16.5 against Duke. I think Duke would struggle to beat Air by 16.5 points. USF minus 11 against Southern Miss. Indiana minus 2.5 against UCLA. And Buffalo minus 3.5 against UMass. In the NFL, I have Jacksonville against Cleveland. Tom and I also have Tall Boys on the line for that one at minus 3 against the Browns. And give me San Francisco minus 5 versus the Vikings. So there's the wagers. We're there. We'll see what 500. Very pedestrian so far on the season, just sitting out here coasting along at 500 on the year. Got to get something rolling here, Tommy. Got to get something rolling. This is the week. Here we go. A little 7-3 action. God forbid, maybe a little 8-2. Now we're playing with house money. Now we're rolling. Maybe next week I come in here on Redemption Thursday and give you 15 games. Start upping the ante a little bit.
Whoa, now. You probably need to be 6-4, 7-3 to do that. But, all that you've lost right now is the juice. No big deal. It's not a disaster. Just maybe those UConn Huskies, maybe they lead the way at the plus 16.5.
There you go. Brett, go ahead and you wager me non-perishable food item. I know you're feeling strong about what you see from Texas A&M apparently. So you take that bet. You're on the other side of it. That's fine. Golden Grams, Raisin Bran, whatever you want to do. Charity of your choice. That's how this all works for those that are relatively new to the program. On this show, it's for charity purposes, these wagers. Yeah, we're betting in our real life too, but that's not for the air in terms of like actually betting, cash and all that. So we do this. It'll be fun.
Seems like you're using Notre Dame, the Texas A&M Notre Dame result as a data point for your Florida pick there. Is that
well?
Fair
It certainly isn't a good one for Texas A&M.
Right.
My goodness gracious. It's not that I sit here and think that Florida is necessarily any good. I just don't think Texas A&M is either. I don't suspect that offense is going to be marching up and down the field against Florida. I don't think Florida's very good either. I do think it's interesting when you start to look at Florida's schedule all of a sudden. Now the games are being played. You do see that there's a path to them having a relatively decent record through 6 games. Again, Kentucky looked terrible last Saturday. Terrible. Did you see after that game? It did make me laugh. By the way, pull this up for giggles, Tom. Pull up Kentucky's schedule and put it on the screen here just because this is awesome. We did a lot of making fun of Florida, and understandably so, both before the season and then also when the schedule was announced, everybody realized, holy moly, that last 5-game stretch is insane. Look at the next 4-game stretch for Kentucky and realize that Mark Stoops is up against it after getting blown out by South Carolina. This is what they've got. They've got Georgia. They've got, where is it? Is that the right stretch?
Well, yeah, they're going Ohio and Ole Miss the next 2 weeks after that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he said we play 4 of the 6 best teams in the country. There's Tennessee should be somewhere in there. This seems to be where it is. Yeah, okay, so he's talking about their overall schedule. Man, they've got an Ole Miss, they've got a Tennessee, they've got a Texas, they've got, obviously, Georgia. That ain't going to be good. Georgia, Texas, Tennessee, and Ole Miss still remain on your schedule after you just lost to South Carolina?
31-6. Yeah.
Whew. That's going to be a toughie. Things aren't going to go well for Mark. I said Mark should have bounced years ago. You got to get out while the getting's good, man.
I think Mark now says I should have bounced years ago. I think he's coming to the same conclusion.
Well, I was stunned by how they were manhandled. And Mark's been a good coach there, but something you could kind of rely on with them was that they would be physical defensively on the defensive front. They would be able to block it up in the run game. They've had two really good running backs in the last 5 years. And I thought that would be something that you could probably just expect the Mark Stoops team to be, but didn't see any sign of that. It's an interesting, again, we talk about teams taking the biggest leap from week 1 to week 2. We obviously didn't. That doesn't always hold true. But also teams that look really bad sometimes do find a way to latch on to an identity. I think that's what we're hoping happens for Florida State this Saturday, that in this searching, after being disillusioned, after believing that you were going to be something, and then you haven't been that, you still don't know what you are. That was the point you were making last hour, is that we still don't know what this team is. We know what we thought we were going to be. We know what Mike thought they were going to be, more importantly. They haven't proven to be that, but they haven't found the other thing yet either. Normally, there's something that you fall back to and say, okay, well, I think they can be this at this point. Hasn't worked out, but there were glimmers of hope here or signs there. There hasn't been any of that for Florida State. And I think that's the greatest fear going into Saturday is, what if you're still searching after a quarter? What if all of a sudden you get off to another bad start? I mean, for Florida State, the real disaster, the potential for disaster here, where once again you watch a team not play fast and look domed up and refuse to execute, is if they get off to a bad start. The problem with the weight of a poor start to a season is that a poor start in game 3 or however many games you've played at a given point when you've played badly is almost certainly leading to that level of consternation in which people play slow and look around for others to make plays. It's the worst when you watch it unfolding. This, oh no. I mean, the Boston College game is a great example of this. Florida State did come out physical in the Boston College game.
Defensively.
They did. Yeah, defensively they came out very physical to start the Boston College game. They had an immediate third down that they forced. Couldn't get off the field. Had a bunch of moments in the first quarter where they couldn't get off the field. The play differential begins to wear you down. The stress of needing to win that game, not possessing the football, not executing when you do have the football, especially when there are easy opportunities and easy plays to be made, leads to that mounting grip, that vice on your head, that feeling of, oh man, it's happening again, especially as a major favorite. The best way to avoid upsets is to give the underdog no sense that they have a chance to compete on a given day. And when you get off to a slow start, like they did at home against Boston College, fresh off of an upset loss over in Ireland, and then a quarter goes by, quarter and a half goes by, and you begin to get a sense that this is going to be a nail-biter for all 4 quarters, man, the grip factor is something to behold, isn't it? Just watching guys play slow, play deferential.
Yeah, well, it's something like the lean times, and there have been lean offensive times here for the basketball program, even when the program was good. And you just see the ball getting pounded into the court for 25 seconds of a 30-second possession, and you're just saying, are we going to move? Anybody going to move? And you feel the weight of that over that period of time. You're like, well, here we go. 10 to shoot, 8 to shoot. Somebody make a play. 5 to shoot. Somebody make a play. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's 3rd and 6 or 3rd and 7. Like, let's say the first running play is a gain of 4. All right. Feeling pretty good. Deflected pass. 3rd and 6. First drive. Like all of us would be like, well, okay, it's 3rd and 6. And you might see that on a skill position player's face. You might see that on the sideline. What happens on 3rd and 6? Is it going to be different than last time? That's the thing. It could be as quick as the first drive. And you need somebody to come up with the answers. You need somebody. They don't have to lead the way the whole game. It could be 3 or 4 guys making different plays at different times, but they just did not against Boston College.
I feel like leadership is an overused word or descriptor for a team when they're succeeding or failing. You'll hear a lot about leadership, but I do think in circumstances in which things have gone poorly, when you have elements of what you're trying to accomplish, avoid, elements of what you're trying to accomplish have been out of reach, and you have not executed. And there are myriad issues and reasons and conversations surrounding those failures. Sometimes it certainly helps if you have one guy in the face of all of that you can trust. And in particular, if that guy is in a position of authority. It could be a coach. It could certainly be a quarterback. It could certainly be, I don't know, your best skill player, whomever that might be, right? It could be, in some cases, an all-world linebacker. But if you don't have that, if there isn't that omnipresent sort of trustworthy, circumstances don't seem to affect the way they play, down in and down out sort of player to turn to, it gets all the more difficult because we've all, I bring these examples up, like I bring up too many golf examples for some people's taste, but if you have a go-to shot, if you have something, when nothing is working, the ball flight isn't what you like to see, you're not squaring it up, you, for whatever reason, are playing a little quick that day. Aspects of your game that are normally trustworthy have fallen away, and you don't know what to trust. If you have a go-to shot, you at least know it's not going to be an unmitigated disaster. I can matriculate the ball forward. I'm going to get to the green with a chance to make a putt for bogey or for par. I know I have that. I can hit this stinger, and I'll 200 yards, chip. Hopefully I make the putt. I'm not going to be out here throwing up a 120 because I got nothing. And in football, it's weird. Normally, you would turn to the quarterback in that situation. Like, ideally, the quarterback would be that guy that you have. And again, I think it's an overused phrase, this talk of leadership in these moments. I think you physically need to go out and execute, and that's more important. But I don't know who that is on this team. I don't know who that guy is that shows unwavering confidence despite the circumstances around them crumbling, right? You could have argued that was Jordan a year ago. You could have argued that it was, whomever, Jermaine Johnson, when they were trying to come up and become this other thing, right? Like, that guy made plays in big situations. You could trust that he was going to do that. He was going to have an impact on the game that day, regardless of what was happening around him. There hasn't been anybody like that on either side of the ball through 2 games.
I think part of the problem is the offensive line, obviously. It's not giving you an opportunity to be successful if you're a running back who could take the game over, quote unquote, or take a series over. You don't have to take a game. How about a series? How about a play? Or pass protection. It's not there either. DJ's average time to pass is pretty good, but the pressure rate is top 10 worst in the country. So
right.
Out of 10 snaps, he's under pressure between 3 and 4, closer to 4. That can't happen. And we saw what Boston College was, which was basically a low light highlight film clip for Darius in one-on-one situations. Instant pressure. So, like, when it's bad, it's instant pressure in DJ's face. When it's good, he has 1 Mississippi, 2 and 3, and then he can get through his progressions and make those plays. In terms of running calls, you'd think it would be counter, but again, just looking at people have adjusted, and also the offensive line's gotten worse. I think it's a tale of 2 things. Against a neutral front, 7 men in the box, because we'll load up. We'll bring a tight end in there or 2 when we like to run counter. So you're going to match it. Maybe it's 2 back sometimes, but you're going to match it with 6 or 7 guys in the box. In 2022, you averaged over 6 yards a carry. Last year, you couldn't average 4 yards a carry in those situations. This year, under 2.5. And that's with a drive against Georgia Tech where you ran up the numbers. So in truth,
right down the field,
it's under 2 yards a carry. So you can't fall back on that either. So this is the place where you feel without hope, but it can change in 1 week against a 3-man front if you decide to get tough. Like, my thing is, if they get into 2nd and 6 and they call a successful run play, unless Memphis is projecting pre-snap that they're bringing 7 or 8 guys, I'd run it again. Get into 3rd and 2, and I'd run it again. It's not that I'm afraid of putting it in DJ's hands. I'm saying that it's time to carve out what we're going to be about. And this is a week where, even if it's, an overmatched defensive front, you got to beat somebody, because you haven't beaten anybody yet with consistency outside of 1 drive in the running game.
It leads to the speculation, and I don't know what's right and what's not, once the season starts, certainly I go to far fewer practices. I try to avoid practices because the evidence I need to make decisions on what a team is or is not is being played out on a Saturday in a game, and the game matters. So I can know what a team has done or is going to do based on their performances when it matters the most in a game. And we all know now that whatever the buildup was coming into the season was not a great reflection of what this team was. But so far through 2 games, instead, it's told a very different story. I want to see it tell a different story on Saturday, one that is a positive ending. But what's strange to me is that I can't help but watch DJ, and I can't help but watch Darius, and I can't help but watch Robert Scott. If you took those 3 guys on offense, Tom, and I told you that Robert Scott was going to show signs that he is completely shot physically as a player and could give you really nothing of any significance when he has to play at right tackle. And I don't know if Byers is going to play this Saturday or not. We'll all line up on Saturday and watch the pregame warm-ups to see if Byers is going to play. If he's not going to play and they're going to continue to run Robert Scott out there, it is a recipe for disaster. I don't think he can play any longer. Darius, meanwhile, on the other hand, was a guy you thought you could not only depend on, but who you thought would be one of the best linemen in the country. That's your head coach talking, let alone a top-tier left tackle in the ACC. He has been neither. He has been bad. There's no other way of saying it. He has been straight up bad. DJ looks hurt to me. He's never been an elite player, but he's always run with more conviction. Well, certainly he ran with more conviction last year when he was asked to at Oregon State. There was a physicality and certainly even a more fleet of foot aspect of his running a year ago than anything we've seen so far. Every time he's run up to this point, it looks like a guy who is really, really showing timidity. I haven't seen a guy that has any desire to run the football. Could that be the brace you see on his knee, the sleeve you see on his knee? I don't know. That I'm forced to take those context clues and draw that conclusion because I thought he looked faster early on in camp than anything I've seen since. He's not running. Now, that's ended up affecting, lots of other things have ended up affecting his passing. But, like, these are 3 dudes in your offense, 2 tackles and a quarterback who either are hurt or look shot.
Yeah, I would. For me personally, I think Darius was worse than Robert against Boston College.
Which is hard to be, but yeah.
Well, Robert looked bad against Tech, and then he was out of there. I think that performance is sticking in the mind more than the BC one. I think Darius, unfortunately, has been one of your worst guys, and it makes little to no sense.
He got abused. He got brutalized. You're right about that.
He did. And it's not just in pass pro. Like, you're seeing run game stuff, and you're like, damn, man, where did it go? Because that kid is between the ears, he's everything that's right with the program, the culture, all those things. He's not complacent. He's not soft by any stretch. I thought he was practicing harder and tougher in spring and fall camp this year than he ever had before. He's larger, but he looks like he's carrying the weight well. It's very confusing. Maybe it's just as simple as he's not a tackle, and he should be playing on the inside, but they have him at left tackle. The thing is, if you're Mike and you knew that, you wouldn't hype him as a first-team All-American at that point. You would just say, we feel very good about our line, and never name a name to put him up at that extra pedestal. Like, it's really confusing. The other part of it, too, is that the shifting we do with some of the guards, I don't know. I'd like to see us settle on some guys, and if we still see uneven results, Otto's available. Let him fail. I'd rather him fail because, these guys have been around 6 years, and Otto has years in front of him.
Well, for one of the guards, I would agree that is an option, and then I would say that Early is an option as well at tackle.
They gave him time at the end, and Mike Norvell was you could tell he's willing to say on the record that it wasn't perfect. But I mean, shoot, what's the other options? And we'll see. It doesn't sound like to me on Monday, and this is where I, in a way, enjoy not going to practice because I'm not compromised by the injury thing because I don't ask. I don't even ask. It didn't sound good about Byers on Monday to me. Now, maybe he's had a good week in terms of progression, but Mike said if this thing is, if it ends up being a couple of weeks, like usually that's code for I don't expect him to play, period.
Problematic because, by the way, Byers played well against Georgia Tech.
Yeah. That offensive line was certainly a lot better than when they did the wholesale change where they put Richie at right guard and Ferguson at left. Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird that they made that decision to do the wholesale change.
It was a scheduled substitution, sir. They communicated before the game starts.
Well, that's like when Fuller is out here telling folks we would have liked to have played so-and-so and so-and-so, but, there were so few possessions and, we couldn't rotate. Man, get the hell out of here with that. If a guy's not setting the edge, he's not setting the edge. Possession 1, possession 2, possession 3. Got to get him out. Put the other guy in. I don't care about your plan. Get the other guy in, and let's move from there so that we can, operate, so we can function. It's crazy. Interest rates are falling and properties are sitting on the market longer than they ever have. If you've been on the fence about purchasing, now is the time to buy. This is about as close to a buyer's market as we've seen in years. We'll see going forward, so don't delay. It can cost you thousands of dollars if you wait. Reach out to Shannon Young, loansforknowles.com. That's loansforknowles.com. He works with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. That is loansforknowles.com. We got to solve for the future. I think we've been searching to solve for the future for, 2 weeks now, going on 3 weeks now. We'll try to do it next as, we got to think of something good for the future here as we solve for this. ISF deserves better. We got to help our friends solve for that. We have to solve for the future. ISF should take some responsibility. I'm blaming you, Jonathan. I'm blaming ISF. We have not been able to solve for this miserable future over the last 2 weeks. We're going to try. We'll attempt. Next, Jeff Cameron Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV continues in a moment.
Football. Well, it may not be living up to our expectations yet, so I'm going to try to give you something to look forward to. Hi, Chris Kraft for Kraft Nissan. This month, we asked Nissan for a lift on 2 of our best vehicles, and as usual, they answered. So listen to this. 2024 Titan trucks have 0% financing for 60 months, plus each and every Titan on our lot is now marked down $5,000. Plus, Titan has America's best warranty, 5 years or 100,000 miles, bumper to bumper. Or if you're interested in an SUV with $2,000 bonus cash and $1,500 loyalty cash on the Nissan Armada, you can save up to $5,000 on each and every Armada on our lot and get 3.9% financing for 60 months. Or just like last month, we can put you into a brand new Nissan Sentra starting at $420 a month, no money down. Some of the best deals of the year on some of Tallahassee's favorite vehicles. Come see us today at Kraft Nissan. Remember, if you don't see the Kraft tag on your car, you paid too much, way too much.
Harnessing the power of the sun, delivering the highest quality drinking water. We are warming homes and fueling industries. And behind every service, there's a dedicated team. They're your neighbors, friends, and family. We are connected, and together, we are stronger. Day and night, rain or shine, the City of Tallahassee Utilities is working for you.
Give your business a facelift with a modern, consistent, creative brand overhaul from Curiosity Marketing Group. These days, it's not enough for your business just to have a standard website or a Google listing to reach your customers. Your business needs to stand out with eye-popping branding, modern web development, and strong marketing. And it takes a team to pull it all together. Words and websites matter. At Curiosity, we make the most of yours. Find out more at curiositymg.com.
I used to fight almost on a daily basis working on my business website. I'm a pretty smart guy, but I could never get it to function the way I needed it to, and I was losing customers because of it. That's when I called Curiosity Marketing. They listened, they understood, we collaborated, and in the end, they delivered beyond my highest expectations. Now, I can barely keep up with the work. They say the future belongs to the curious, and now I'm excited about the future of my business.
Find out more at curiositymg.com.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
What's better than one win? 3 wins. With Straight Savings, you keep your own phone, get one line for only $25 a month with real unlimited data, and get rewarded with a $200 phone credit after 12 months. It's a win-win-win. Head to Walmart or visit straighttalk.com today. Switch to Straight Talk. Less dollars, more sense. Straight Savings Plan enrollment requires compatible unlocked device and new line of service. Bonus device credit requires 12 months of active service. Offer ends if eligibility requirements are no longer met. Taxes and fees apply. For network management practices, see Straight Talk's terms and conditions.
Progressive presents Renters MVP's Most Valuable Possessions. Today's MVP, Tom Kelly's carbon fiber mountain bike. Because more than riding his carbon fiber mountain bike, Tom loves telling people about his carbon fiber mountain bike. Friends, family, even a local barista knows about his carbon fiber mountain bike. And that's why Tom's carbon fiber mountain bike, if you haven't heard about it, is today's MVP. Keep your most valuable possessions protected by bundling your renters and auto insurance with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Our friends at ISF have been kicking ass for a long time throughout the country. From right here in little old Tallahassee, they are helping clients in 43 states, I think I read, 43, whether it's IT modernization, public sector managed services, strategy and operations, you name it, organizational transformation, becoming state government, become more efficient. All these things, solving the future, is brought to you by ISF. 40 plus years, ISF is combining your vision and their expertise. See ISF's capabilities today at ISF.com. All right, buddy. We're solving for the future, and it looks like what Saturday? Florida State loses the coin toss. Memphis kicks off to Florida State. They defer. Noles get the ball. Is it a lineup, smash mouth, sticking with it approach to offensive football, even if it's a 3-and-out early? They get the ball back. They stay in that kind of formation. They're trying to kickstart the run game and run downhill. Not counter, not anything to the outside. They're running between the tackles and get you some. Or are they throwing to set up the run like they attempted to do against Boston College? What do we see Saturday?
It's a tough call. But I do think one thing before the snap, they might have some RPOs in there. They probably should, because if Memphis is going to commit a lot of bodies, they kind of have to show that in a 3-3-5 before the snap.
They do.
Memphis likes to cheat and try and jump the snap count, so I would anticipate that we're alert to that, and you might have a lot of clapping going on. It might be like some sort of concert, but a lot of clapping going on before the snap. Hopefully the O-line is hip to that as well to make sure that they don't jump early. I think that they want to run the ball first. I think that's the goal. I think they might do so out of more condensed looks. I think that's the best way to take on a front like Memphis. They will every once in a while put four hands in the dirt, but usually it's 3. If they're going to do that, then bring the beef, I say. But we'll see how Memphis wants to play it, because if they stack, then you have to go outside and you have to counter to that. So I think by default we want to run. I just hope they alter the snap count too, because Memphis does do a good job of jumping the count, especially as the play clock gets down. These little nuances. That's how they generated a turnover against Troy. First possession of the second half, get a short field score and put that game on ice. So I hope that's part of what we do.
With all the off coverage that you saw from Memphis in the past, not trusting their corners, I would say that you're absolutely right that you have to be able to check to a throw if you're DJ here. But the thing is, you certainly have to execute it. Let's see if the addition of Hakeem Williams changes the way that Florida State is able to execute, because I think anything with the quick game, anything where you just pop and pass and get out there and have somebody blocking, having a willing blocker who's capable of executing can change a lot of this, and also having a bigger body if he's the one who's receiving to break tackles and make a big play where there are chances to do so, change the scoreboard. Florida State needs something good like that to happen in the passing game, gain some confidence with that. I absolutely agree. I also think they should run downhill against a 3-3-5 and move Memphis out of there, root Memphis out of there, and get into a 2nd and 6 and a 3rd and 2, and really begin to try to wear them down through a brutal commitment to the running game. I want to emasculate Memphis. I want to force their hand which creates one-on-one opportunities out on the edges.
I just hope it's a simpler running attack schematically as well. There is a time for counter, and we all love it when it works. It's a beautiful thing. But when you're facing a front like this, I feel like it confuses the assignments for the pullers, and because there's a distance, there's a gap. D-Rob did a good job of breaking that down against Georgia Tech, where there's a linebacker who's just coming up the middle, shooting the gap. Maurice Smith doesn't take him. TJ Ferguson doesn't touch him. That's how you lead to a big play in the backfield for a loss. But that kind of a depth that you establish before the snap in this type of a front can alter responsibilities and create timing issues if you're trying to run gap schemes and pull people. And we haven't looked like we know what we're doing, even when there aren't tricks being thrown our way in terms of who's picking whom, who seals off what part. I just hope it's much more simple. Like it doesn't have to be like man-to-man. I'm just saying straight ahead or outside zone or inside, whatever it is, where you don't have to worry about breakdowns in communication and assignment.
Yeah.
And we'll see if that's what they do.
I thought, I said it earlier this week, that they were better suited to play that kind of football to start the year. I thought we'd see more of it. We really haven't. That might include DJ up under center, like your classic, like we're watching 1997 all over again, buddy. This is just, here we are. Like, I wish we had one. I'd love to see some sort of freaking 32, 34 veer, I formation, fullback leading the way, give it to the tailback, follow in behind, Moose Johnson, let's go. Or my man, William Floyd. I'd love to see it.
It would be surprising to me. I see a couple of comments in the chat talking about they should play press man. They did not put their corners on an island. They kept everything in front of them against Troy. That would be quite the deviation if they decide for Florida.
I thought they meant that we should, because we will.
No, we will. No, well, and Troy played back too, but Memphis was protecting, it looked to me, keeping everything in front of them defensively against Troy. In a way, you almost want to do that to Florida State here. You could choose to do that, sit back, keep everything in front of you, rally to the ball and tackle and say, they blow so many assignments. They miss so many things. I don't know that they can put 12 plays together or 10 plays together. Prove it. I mean, you could see them attack it that way. I think at that point, that's where you can get really physical and just run straight ahead and impose. But I mean, with Florida State failing on so many levels, you really, as a defensive coordinator, I don't think feel pressured in the first drive to get it right. Like, well, let's see what they got today, because it could be nothing. And that's what Boston College did. Boston College played off. They didn't stack. Boston College played back. They played coverage. We faced 6-man pressure or 6-man fronts more often than anything else, in a couple instances of 5-man fronts. Even when we had numbers to run with, we didn't. And Boston College stayed back in the shell. So
yeah, we chose to throw the ball. I couldn't believe how vanilla Boston College was on both sides of the ball. They didn't do anything that would lead to any sort of confusion. There was nothing. It was just a straight up, oh, well, you're not going to make us do anything. We're just gonna play vanilla as possible, and we're just gonna be more physical than you on the defensive line. We're gonna be more physical than you on the offensive line. Oh, okay. Like watching guys get tackled at the line of scrimmage only to have it be 2nd and 6 is very aggravating. Meaning, first contact is made at the line of scrimmage. Good. Play finishes, they're 4 yards downfield. There's a lack of physicality and want to get a guy to the ground. There's a lack of want to. You got to get guys to the ground. I just do not understand how, as a defensive player, you're playing that tentatively. And offensively, to see it in reverse, to watch our guys get hit at the line of scrimmage and to easily go down is incredible. Cam had some moments where he moved the pile. But for the most part, good God, we're too easily tackled. Just like we catch blocks defensively. We love to catch blocks. Come on in. I got you. Let's have a little hug.
Yeah,
and you got to throttle somebody and snap their head back. Let's go.
Yeah, both of their running backs can do that. If they get to the line of scrimmage without harm, then they will fight forward, and you need to be tougher than them. If they don't, like Anderson's a good running back, but he's patient. That's his style. Like there are times when he'll go out in a dead sprint and run full effort, but he's more patient. He uses vision and angles, and he's wise that way. But that also means you can cut him down in the backfield. Troy did that enough. Like if you look at the numbers against North Alabama, they only averaged 2 yards a carry, did Memphis. But Anderson averaged closer to 5 in his time, and I think they went just full wholesale change. They were more impressive on the ground against Troy. But again, there's a lot of negative in their play calling as well, like stuff at the line, tackles in the backfield, because they're trying to set things up. This is, I think, an instance where you can pressure Hennigan. Hennigan's good against the blitz, but those receivers, they've got a guy who's a 1,000-yard guy and Rock Taylor who's back. I haven't seen a thing so far this season against a group with a pulse. Make them prove it. I would get downhill. The first thing that they want to do is run the football, I believe. So get downhill and stop Anderson and see what happens at that point. See if Hennigan can make throws against non-off coverage with any degree of consistency.
Well, and then it would finally give you an opportunity for what we thought was going to be really solid to upper crust play from your corners. They'd have a chance to make some plays. They'd finally be thrown at. Really, nobody has. They haven't had to. Our defense couldn't get off the field and get out of advantage offense in terms of the chains, like 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 3. There was no reason to throw. You didn't need to. When they did throw, a lot of times they're throwing to backs. It's been very, very frustrating. So you'd like those players to have an opportunity. Now we'll see what Ventrell is, but yeah, same thing goes for Azaria.
Yeah, the problem is, and I'll keep bringing this up, is they played teams that they weren't afraid of. So there will be wrinkles in their plan that bring up the same problems and force us to show that we've solved the communication issues that we have with any number of combination of players. I would imagine that there's going to be more pre-snap motion from Memphis than they showed in the first 2 games. Like, that's not really what they do. They'll do shifting well before the snap to get the indicators going and the matchups going the way they want to, but not the typical thing that we've seen the last couple of weeks, which is like a jet motion and then the ball is snapped in case there's a jet sweep of some kind. It's more, it reminds me almost of more of West Coast movement. It's like before the snap, wholesale changes, and let's see if we can't get somebody isolated. The quarterback sees it, he thinks about that matchup, and then he snaps the ball and they go. They would still be foolish to not mirror some things that the Yellow Jackets and the Eagles did, though, this week.
I just don't understand the massive amount of confusion and lack of communication when we play so little zone. I just don't know why you'd be confused. If you're motioning somebody, it's to indicate whether or not they're in man or in zone. We're in man. If you're an opposing offense,
Right. It's just about switching responsibilities, which, you watch those clips. Shaheem does a great job of it. Fentrell wasn't listening once. He does a great job of it again. Hussey wasn't listening. At some point in the film room, you need to say, look around you before the snap. If your teammate's trying to talk to you, I need you to listen. And then the linebacker stuff, Juice Cryer didn't indicate on one play. Cam Riley was communicating, but the other half wasn't on one play, and he gets killed for it. Like the one wheel route of several that we turn them loose. It's I want to say it is the first quarter breakdown that we have.
Yeah, it's the second of the wheel routes.
It's the one
right back to the same play.
They're heading towards the student section.
It's the opposite side.
It's to the right. It looks like that it's Cam Riley's fault when it really isn't. His segment mate at linebacker needs to tell him that the motion means it's his turn, because Cam is communicating like crazy. But this is where I really enjoy those film breakdowns, because in the post game, I might be killing Cam Riley wrongly, but it's not his fault. He wasn't told the switch is on. So it's just things like that, man, where they're going to be tested. Memphis sees that too, and Memphis is salivating at the opportunity to put them in those situations again.
Well, things like that is the kind of thing that rightfully should get coaches fired, and certainly leads to a discussion about coaches being fired.
Well, and it might also get your ass kicked if it's your teammate who you're like, man, you're leaving me out to dry looking like I blew the coverage. Like, I don't know that there's a running back in front of me, because the general fan in the stands or somebody like me is going to look at that and say, where are you looking, 18? Well, if he's told what he's supposed to be told, he's looking in the right place.
Well, this is how it all unravels. Let's hope that unraveling stops this Saturday. Stops this Saturday at noon. Thanks to our friends at ISF. ISF.com to learn more about their capabilities and your organization and the collaboration possible with ISF. Jeff Cameron Show continues in a moment. 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
Tallahassee police have arrested one armed and dangerous suspect after a home invasion escalated into a shooting near Appleyard Drive Wednesday. As two suspects fled the scene at the Socials 2700 in a vehicle, the suspects fired several gunshots in the area. No injuries were sustained in the shooting. At this time, one suspect has been detained and officers are working to locate an additional suspect. The preliminary investigation revealed this is an isolated incident and there is no ongoing threat to public safety. The residence is near Tallahassee State College, prompting school officials to issue an alert around 3:30 p.m., urging people in the area to seek safe shelter immediately and await further instructions. The investigation remains open and active, and updates will be provided as more information becomes available. Discount grocery chain Aldi is set to open in Thomasville on Thursday, September 19th. Customers will have the opportunity to enter a sweepstake during the grand opening weekend for a chance to win a $500 Aldi gift card. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by McLemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at McLemoreSystems.com.
Now, here's your Paul's Termite and Pest Control Tallahassee weather report.
Rain chances staying high and then dropping off for the weekend, and sunshine will return along with slightly higher temperatures. Tonight, mostly cloudy, 70% chance of showers and storms, and some could be strong to severe, low of 75. Friday, a 60% chance of showers and storms, partly sunny with a high of 86. 30% chance on Saturday, high of 88. From Real Talk 93.3, this is Danielle Kelly.
For the elimination of termites, pests, and for a greener lawn too, call Paul's. They'll get them all.
See Nice Tire and Auto Service at 4792 Bluntstown Highway today. The ASC trained technicians at Nice take the guesswork out of fixing your car. That's why wherever you see the Goodyear sign, you'll find what you want in tires and service. From preventative maintenance to a major overhaul and everything in between, you name it. Plus, Nice's services are backed by a nationwide limited warranty. Stop by Nice Tire and Auto Service. 4792 Bluntstown Highway, just west of Capitol Circle.
Get the most accurate measurement of your body composition at DexaFit Tallahassee, the gold standard for trainers and physicians around the country, and the only technology available to accurately measure bone density and visceral fat. Visit DexaFit.com to learn more.
This is Hugh Tomlinson, president of the Tallahassee Quarterback Club. I invite you to join our historic club supporting local football since 1949. Don't miss our exciting events featuring legendary and popular football personalities. Get updates from FSU coaches, win great door prizes, and stay on top of all local football. Attend our next event featuring Trent Dilfer on September the 17th. Get your tickets or join our club at TallahasseeQBClub.com. That's TallahasseeQBClub.com. Get in the game, get in the club.
Tune in every Sunday from 2 to 3 p.m. for great Southern Gospel with Bobby and Nita Key, sharing their voices for nearly 20 years, only on Real Talk 93.3.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Wonder what we'll see. We talked a lot, rightfully, about the changes that have to occur for Florida State to be successful Saturday. But, you know, the biggest one is always going to be whether or not your quarterback plays well. Tom, you and D-Rob did a good job of showing that there have been plays there to be made. And some of them have not been executed by the receiver. Some of them have not been executed by DJ. Nobody would argue that there's been good quarterback play, but it hasn't certainly been all on him. So really quite curious to see, is there a package in play for Brock? Is there a sign that patience is running out, or that they're really hell-bent on getting this fixed in the other areas that will then allow DJ to maximize whatever he is, which is a slightly above average quarterback, right?
Yeah, agreed. The one thing I enjoyed about that feature was he's making the case that they shouldn't make a quarterback change because there's enough there. There's enough good film there. But then also when he makes a bad throw, he'll say, I need an 8th grader to make this throw. So it's like, you know, it's not above ripping the guy when he's bad. But, you know, the ratio again in the first half against Boston College, and Boston College did not stack the box, not often at all, was 10 dropbacks per 1 handoff to the tailbacks, you know, like 10-1. And that's not where you want to live. So first of all, that ratio has to change. Unless Memphis is walking everyone up to the line of scrimmage, that ratio just has to be different. I don't know that we're going to see a package for Brock. I don't know. I find that question more debatable now than I did before. And maybe it's because that feature has swayed my opinion. But for whatever the reason, I feel like you will see Brock if things go bad for a couple consecutive drives. I don't know that they have a plan for him like today as we sit here. It might be backup plan rather than part of the schedule of what they do. But, I mean, look, it wouldn't be shocking if they go out there and they look uneven on offense. I mean, that's where we are right now. Until they give us something different to diagnose, it's been a lot more bad than good across the board.
Yeah, I tend to think that they won't have that they're going to try to avoid having to go to Brock in this game. I think Mike is all in on DJ for this game. You've had 2 weeks to put together the game plan here off the bye, figure out what's working, what isn't working. Not a lot working, I understand. But just as you pointed out, that there are plays that are there to be made. Not all of them have been failed by the quarterback. So until these other elements are fixed, you wouldn't want to throw somebody else back out there, although there is the possibility of game planning around Brock's legs, which would be the next desperate thing that you would do. You kind of just change everything about what your offense is and say it's going to be predicated on the quarterback's mobility. Now, clearly, this offense is not predicated on DJ's mobility, which has been, I think, severely limited from a year ago. I think there's something wrong there. I went back and looked at games against that he played with Oregon State. Went all the way back to watching him at Clemson. He's never been a burner. He's not trying to make it sound like he's the most elusive guy in the world. And early in his career, he didn't show signs that he liked to run when he was at Clemson, and that was a criticism that I had of him that I've brought up on the air a bunch. I was so relieved last year when we saw him run the ball at Oregon State. Like, when he ran, he showed, like, okay, this is a guy who's committed to running the football and utilizing his strength at that size. So when we went after him, when it became apparent he was going to be the guy that we settled with, I thought, okay, well, at least that version is on film. I've seen a guy that would use his size when he ran the football and that he would run tough, because I didn't really see it at Clemson all that often. Well, yeah. I saw a more athletic version of DJ at Clemson. I didn't see a guy who had a lot of willingness to run. Between that and then the willingness to run that was born at Oregon State, I thought, man, you might get the best of both worlds. You might get the guy who was pretty athletic at Clemson but didn't really want to run, who then showed that he would run at Oregon State. Now you've got that in your offense. It changes the math for a defense, changes really how you call plays, but it hasn't been on display at all. If anything, he's looked like he's got a bunch of trepidation about running, which tells me he's hurt. And that's not an excuse for him. It's just a fact that he hasn't looked like a guy running with conviction whatsoever when he's had to.
Yeah,
and that matters. It matters. It's changed what your offense can be.
I agree. I think it feels like a different guy than we saw in camp from that part of the equation. You're still allowed to make some throws and not throw them into the stands.
Of course. You got to stop chipping bricks. Sure.
Because in the end, nobody cares. That's the whole thing. Nobody cares. You're the one that we're rolling out there with. And so if you're out there and the plays can't be made, then you bring Brock in and the legs are part of it. But Brock also has a really good arm. Is it DJ's? No. Few people have an arm like DJ.
Yeah.
That's why he keeps getting chances, is because he can make throws where he sprints out and he throws it 40 yards for a gain of 10, but it's on a line and you can't cover it because, corners don't see that. They don't see that in the college game very often. But I feel like this is a situation in which, and it sounds like you're saying the same thing, Mike's attitude might be, I'll go to him if I have to, but I don't want to have to.
I don't want to have to. Yeah, I don't want to have to. Changes everything about what they're trying to do. We got to do this.
It's time for, how you say, with the pitching probables?
We'll go dry. A's Astros 2-1 Houston. That was Framber Valdez and Mitch Spence. Marlins Nationals. God, who's watching Marlins Nationals? Darren McGoffin and Mitchell Parker, if you are. Red Sox, Yankees. Here we go. Good series. Cooper Criswell. Did you see the walk-off for Boston last night? That ball was crushed. Tough loss for Baltimore. Cooper Criswell goes for Boston. Nestor Cortez.
Nestor.
There it is. I can't see you when I'm reading probables. I was wondering if you're ready. Rays, Guardians, Ryan Peapot. Gavin Williams goes for the Guardians. We got the Rangers and the Mariners. That would be Kumar Rocker getting the start for the Rangers. Bryce Miller going for the Mariners. And Brewers, Giants, Gigantes. Frankie Montas and Hayden Birdsong. Hayden Birdsong's a cheater at the club. Rockies, Tigers, they're already done. That was Ryan Feltner, Tariq Skubal, and that game went to the Rockies 4-2. St. Louis beat Cincinnati 6-1 earlier today. That is Jacob Junis, who started for the Reds, and Sonny Gray for the Cardinals. That is a look at those that shall and did reside on the bump. You get nervous, Tom? Every day, another day closer to the season's end, and you guys are right there in the mix with the Braves.
We're in it. So we were getting no hit yesterday by Bowden Francis, who's had 2 no-hitters go into the 9th inning in the last 18 days.
When I saw your boy go yard.
He was on pace to be the first no-hitter since 1980 to only have 1 strikeout over the entirety of the performance. He had 1 strikeout going into the 9th inning. But then we got a big home run, and then we scored some more runs and some more runs. And it's a win like that that poisons your blood with hope. And I'm resisting it because I don't want to end this season mad at this team. This team has been a lot of fun, and it's a giant payroll. But a lot of that payroll is pitching in Texas for the Rangers and pitching for Houston. So that's this group has been better than the sum of its parts. It's a couple weeks to go, and it's pretty fun.
Yeah, and starting tomorrow, you've got Mets Phillies, which that ought to be fun. I think they're throwing Nola tomorrow. Are you throwing Quintana?
Yeah, we're reworking the rotation. So we play in the next 13 games. 10 of them are against either the Phillies or the Braves. So it's go time.
It's definitely go time. And the Dodgers and Braves face each other starting tomorrow. So here's your big weekend, buddy. Big weekend.
Go Dodgers. Go Dodgers.
My Pirates play the Royals, and all I care about now is win totals. We've got 70 wins right now. We need to win 6 more times, Tom. 6 more times, and Daddy's cashing checks. That's all. I took the over 75.5.
I need 2 more. 2 more, and I'm cashing on the Mets 81.
There you go. Nicely done. That was bold. I think we were both kind of bold there. That's not bad.
Marbles, as they say in Major League 2. Marbles.
That was well done. Say goodbye, Tom.
Goodbye, everybody. See you in 2 hours.
Yeah, that's right. Interactive is coming up. You can flash it on the screen. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Keep watching. Starting at 6 o'clock tonight, 6 to 7. We'll be out here chit-chatting with you guys. Until then, peace.